A good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting.
Christmas starts here at H&L Rapid True Value. Get Christmas ready by shopping the latest in our catalog. The time brought to you by H&L Rapid True Value is...
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is...
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, says nomination day proceedings went smoothly across the 4 locations up for the November 22 by-elections.
Today went fairly smoothly and there were no hitches as such. The candidates been nominated all the 4 locations that were up for nomination.
The JLP's Dwayne Smith says he's ready to put in the work as MP for Northwest St. Andrew.
And the JLP's Marissa Dalrymple Philibert says now is the right time to return as a Member of Parliament for South Trelawney.
Both the JLP's Suzette Barton and the PNP's Delroy Dawson confident of victory in the divisional race in Annan Town, Clarendon.
The government remains tight-lipped on the status of 10 Cuban nationals who are suspected to have entered the country illegally.
In news from the rest of the world, Hurricane Rafael expected to bring life-threatening storm surges, winds, and flash floods as it makes landfall in Cuba.
Kamala Harris concedes U.S. presidential election but refuses to concede the fight that fueled her campaign.
In headline sports, West Indies bowlers keep England in check in third one-day international in Barbados.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, 9 people were nominated in 2 parliamentary and 2 divisional by-elections on Wednesday. The Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, will join us. You'll also hear more of what took place today, Nomination Day.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to Donald Trump's election win? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, Donald Trump has been elected the 47th President of the United States. We'll get reactions.
At 7, it's Think Like a Stockbroker with Chevon Campbell.
All these and more as we take you home on air, on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, November 6, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, says Wednesday's nomination day proceedings went smoothly across the 4 areas up for the November 22 by-elections. The 2 constituencies that will go to the polls are Northwest St. Andrew and South Trelawney, while the divisions are Morant Bay in St. Thomas and Annan Town in Clarendon. Mr. Brown spoke with Nationwide News this afternoon.
Today went fairly smoothly and there were no hitches as such. The candidates been nominated all the 4 locations that were up for nomination. Trelawney South, we had 1 independent candidate being nominated, and then we have a candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party. In St. Andrew Northwest, you had 2 independent candidates and 1 candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party. In the municipality of Morant Bay, we had 2 candidates being nominated, 1 for the People's National Party and 1 for the Jamaica Labour Party. The same thing happened in the Annan Town division, and therefore we have an election in all 4 locations on the 22nd of November.
The nomination day process ended promptly at 2 this afternoon. Mr. Brown says with this aspect now completed, the Electoral Office will advance preparations for the by-elections. He's urging voters across the 4 areas who have yet to collect their identification cards to do so.
We're looking to bring on board a little bit over 1,000 persons to assist us on election day. It will be a combination of our staff and also staff from within the division and within the constituency. But the majority of the persons will be used on that day will be persons from our staff complement. For in and town, we have roughly 6,921. For St. Andrew Northwest is 31,729. For Morant Bay is 11,009. And Trelawney South, 25,041 persons on the voters list. As we approach election, we again use your medium to appeal to the persons who will be voting if they have not yet collected their new ID card, to do so as quick as possible before the day.
Glasspool Brown, Director of Elections.
Meanwhile, the JLP's Dwayne Smith and 2 independent candidates were nominated to contest the Northwest St. Andrew by-election. Smith, Rohan Banks and Carl O'Neill Marshall will be on the ballot to replace former Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark, who recently resigned to take up the post as Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Nomination day proceedings took place at the Pembroke Hall Community Centre. Smith told supporters that he's ready to put in the work as their Member of Parliament.
Labour rights has been a long time in coming in Northwest Centre. Labour rights, as I said, it's my time now. And I'm very prepared for the job. I thank you for your unwavering support over all these many years. Labour rights, a lot of work done in Northwest in the last couple of years, last couple of decades. And I'm here to add onto the work that has already been done.
He says one of his main priorities will be road improvement in the constituency.
Northwest St. Andrew has a road problem. We have a lot of roads that needs to be fixed. Happily, our newly minted Minister of Finance has said that resources is not going to be a problem. Finally, under the leadership of Dr. the Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, Jamaica is now in a position to properly finance the rehabilitation of roads across the nation. I will be advocating assiduously to get Northwest St. Andrews' fair share of the $45 billion spark program.
Dwayne Smith, the JLP candidate for Northwest St. Andrews. Smith is walking in the footsteps of his father, Derek Smith, who served as MP for the constituency for 29 years. He has served as councillor for the Chancery Hall Division, which he has won in the local government polls 3 times.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he believes Dwayne Smith is now better equipped to take on the role as MP for Northwest St. Andrew.
He should have been the candidate 6 years ago, and at that time I had a good talk with him. Dwayne understood that the exigencies of the time is that former Minister Clark would have been the representative at that time. Now I believe that within that 6 years, Dwayne would have had time to grow and to have a deeper and better understanding of representation. And as a councillor, he would have exercised those duties to the fullest, and he would have also had an opportunity to strengthen his organizational skills. So I think at this time he's now ready for representation in Parliament.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
And 2 candidates have been nominated for the by-election in South Trelawney. They are the JLP's Marissa Dalrymple Philibert and independent candidate Lloyd Gillings. The PNP says it will not participate in the contest. Wednesday's nomination took place at the electoral office on Dixon Street in Albert Town. Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert was accompanied by some of her JLP colleagues, including Party General Secretary Dr. Horace Chang, Audley Shaw, Everald Warmington, Charles Sinclair, and Franklin Witter. She told party supporters that now is the right time to return as Member of Parliament for South Trelawney.
The conscience that allowed me to resign, although I did not have to. I did because I felt it was the responsible thing to do. And the same conscience that guided that decision is the conscience that I have this morning that makes me know that my decision to return to serve the people of South Carolina is the right decision at the right time.
Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, JLP candidate for South Trelawney. Her challenger, Lloyd Gillings, expressed confidence that he's the right man to lead the constituency.
Over the years, this constituency has been neglected. If you look at our roads, it's a disgrace. If you travel from Albertown to Christiana, we see all the breakaways. I have never seen South Trelawney in such a deplorable condition. I know I may be a David, but I believe I'm the right person to bring back South Trelawney and put it back where it used to be before.
As independent, how much percentage you can get out of this election?
Well, as you know, everybody expecting a low turnout, but we're looking for a reasonable amount to win.
Lloyd Gillings, independent candidate for South Trelawney, speaking with reporters following his nomination.
And both candidates in the by-election for the North Clarendon division of Annan Town remain confident of their victory as they're set to face the polls later this month. Both the JLP's Suzette Barton and the PNP's Delroy Dawson were nominated this afternoon. Mr. Dawson says the JLP has failed in its representation of the division.
In the last election, I know most of our comrades didn't come out to vote. So we got to get them engaged in this election, begging them to come out and vote for us and vote early. The last time, I know that we had some financial difficulties. As you know, the parish council resources are very limited. I didn't have a member of parliament who could assist me in the division to really carry out the amount of work I usually do. Therefore, I have to dig deep in my pocket to assist most of the citizens in their demand. So this time, with the pending general election in the year, I know that Comrade Wave Alliance will be victorious and the People's National Party will also be victorious. So the people of this division will be more beneficial in the execution of my duty.
The by-election was triggered by the untimely passing of the councillor, JLP's Marjorie MacLeod McFarlane, in September. She died after a battle with cancer. Mrs. MacLeod McFarlane won the seat by a margin of 92 votes in the 2024 local government poll. If Mr. Dawson is able to flip the division, it will also tie the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, which currently sees the JLP enjoying an advantage of 12 to 10. However, the JLP's Suzette Barton has vowed to retain the council seat for her party.
Well, my plans are in line with the Jamaica Labour Party's plans we are all for prosperity and progress. And of course, we will, and we have in place programs. We will continue with these programs to elevate the youths, especially of the constituency, to improve social services. As you said before, roads. We have been doing quite a bit of road rehabilitation in the constituency. Remember, we are just 4 years into our term, and we have been doing what we can do in rehabilitating the roads. That's our main issue.
Suzette Barton, JLP candidate for the Annan Town division. The by-election is scheduled for November 22.
Meanwhile, the JLP nominated Winston Dowie, the vice principal of Paul Bogle High in East St. Thomas, as its candidate in the Morant Bay Division contest in St. Thomas. He was officially placed on the ballot at 12:05 p.m. at the Methodist Church Hall in the division. Dowie was accompanied by JLP Deputy Leader and MP for West St. Thomas, James Robertson. The PNP nominated Rosemary Shaw, the former mayor of Morant Bay, at around 12:40 p.m. Shaw is a social worker and PNP caretaker for East St. Thomas. She was led by PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell. The by-election was called last week, months after the death of Rohan Bryan, who won the division for the PNP in February's polls. Bryan defeated the JLP's Wilbert Walker by 423 votes.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
Continuing the news. The government has remained tight-lipped on the status of 10 Cuban nationals who are suspected to have entered the country legally by boats in October. Nationwide News has made multiple inquiries to the Ministry of National Security regarding the Cubans, but these requests were not met with any meaningful response. Today, a representative of the ministry told our news team that the Cubans remain in Jamaica and are being processed. No additional details were provided. Robin Williams reports.
On October 26, police apprehended a group of 7 Cuban men on Unity Hall Main Road in St. James. They reportedly arrived in 3 small vessels at about 6:30 p.m. The following day, 3 more Cuban men turned up on the property of a hotel in Rose Hall, St. James at around 10:43 a.m. Checks made by our news team on October 28 revealed that the Cubans were in custody and were being processed by the St. James Police and the Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA. The Cubans reportedly fled their country amidst worsening socio-economic conditions. In January, 10 Cuban men were charged with illegal entry after they arrived at a hotel in Trelawney in December 2023. The charges were eventually withdrawn as the men were ordered deported by the Trelawney Parish Court. They were moved to a government facility for deportation. Cuba has been grappling with severe challenges in recent months. In October, the island's largest power plant collapsed. This resulted in a nationwide blackout that left about 10 million people without power for several days. The situation was worsened by Hurricane Oscar, which struck the island, leaving at least 6 dead and causing widespread destruction. Now, Cuba faces another looming threat as Hurricane Raphael, the Category 3 storm, bears down on the island. According to the National Hurricane Center, Raphael is expected to bring life-threatening storm surges, powerful winds, and flash flooding to parts of western Cuba. Robianne Williams for Nationwide News.
The National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, says there's been a significant reduction in the number of active gangs in the country, accomplished through targeting select individuals who are major perpetrators of violence. Dr. Chang gave an update on his portfolio during a post-cabinet media briefing at Jamaica House today. He says as many as 90 such individuals are currently being pursued.
In recent years, the JCF has significantly disrupted the activities of criminal organizations, reducing the number of active criminal gangs in Jamaica by more than half. It's a deliberate strategy to go after the persons foremost in perpetrating of violence. Indeed, the Commissioner used the expression, communities are not violent, individuals are violent, and we seek to build the cases around those individuals. Our intelligence has identified just under 230 such persons of high priority. They have been prioritized for investigation, and so far, 90 of them are wanted for murders and other major crimes, and are being pursued by our fugitive apprehension teams across the country.
The security minister says this is a targeted attempt to bring such individuals to justice and not an arbitrary process. He says the security forces have also made a significant dent in the number of illegal firearms flowing into the country.
We must also recognize our success in removing illegal firearms from our streets, a critical step in preventing violence before it occurs. So far this year, 667 illegal firearms were taken off the streets. In this area, we are taking further steps to work closely with our partners. We must also recognize our success in removing illegal firearms from our streets, a critical step in preventing violence before it occurs. So far this year, 667 illegal firearms were taken off the streets. In this area, we are taking further steps to work closely with our partners, overseas partners, and to improve and increase the intensity of our review of our ports of entry to prevent the continued influx of illegal firearms in the country.
Dr. Horace Chang, National Security Minister.
Meanwhile, Deputy Commissioner of Police Richard Stewart says the reduction in major crime numbers since the start of the year reflects the JCF's success in curtailing gang violence across the country.
These reductions in major crime numbers reflect the effectiveness of our strategies to reduce gang-related activities and violent crimes. The downward trend across multiple crime categories highlights our continued success in combating and curtailing gangsters and gun violence, contributing to safer communities across the nation.
Richard Stewart, Deputy Commissioner of Police.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Hurricane Rafael has made landfall in western Cuba. According to the National Hurricane Center, Rafael, which is now a Category 3 hurricane, made landfall at 15 minutes after 4 this afternoon. Rafael is expected to bring life-threatening storm surges, winds, and flash floods. Maximum sustained winds at landfall are estimated to be near 115 miles per hour. Classes and public transport were suspended on parts of Cuba as authorities issued an alarm for the incoming weather for the west of the country. Workers secured buildings and cleaned up garbage along Havana's coastline in preparation for floods. Authorities also canceled flights in certain areas like Havana and Varadero, while thousands of people in the west were evacuated. Heavy rainfall is expected to spread north into Florida and nearby areas of the southeast U.S. for the rest of the week. Cubans have already been struggling with blackouts while recovering from another hurricane 2 weeks ago, which killed at least 6 people.
Kamala Harris has addressed the nation for the first time since Donald Trump's election victory on Tuesday. Trump is now the 47th president of the United States. Earlier today, Harris called Trump to concede the election. Speaking at Howard University in Washington, D.C., Harris says despite the outcome of the election, her heart is full.
My heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Kamala Harris, of the 7 crucial swing states Trump won, North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and is ahead in Nevada and Arizona. Republicans have also taken the Senate back from the Democrats.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
In recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, says it was a smooth day across 4 locations for nomination day.
The JLP's Dwayne Smith says he's ready to put in the work as MP for Northwest St. Andrew.
And the JLP's Marissa Dalrymple Philibert says now is the right time to return as MP for South Trelawney.
Both the JLP's Suzette Barton and the PNP's Delroy Dawson confident of victory in the divisional race in Annan Town, Clarendon.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
And you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas. Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas. Hi-Lo gives you a Merry Christmas with 40 days of giveaway.
Win a grand prize of a trip for 2 to Punta Cana and get great daily prizes in the Hi-Lo 40 Days of Christmas promotion. To enter, shop at Hi-Lo, purchase any 6 Hi-Lo branded products and spend a minimum of $10,000. Then write your name, number, and address on the receipt and place in a drop box provided for a chance to win in the Hi-Lo 40 Days of Christmas promotion. Promotion ends December 31st. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Life is precious. Whether you're driving through the hills in the country, the town, or on the highway, remember, slow down and take it easy. Your family and friends are depending on you to get home safe. Speeding may save you minutes, but careful driving saves lives. Since the beginning of this year, 288 people have been killed in 247 crashes, so drive safe.
Brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies has been set 264 to beat England in the third and final one-day international at Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados. The Windies will start their reply shortly. England sent to bat made 263 for 8 in their 50 overs. Phil Salt led the charge with a well-played 74, and he was supported by Dan Moosley, 57, Sam Curran, 40, Jafra Archer, he weighed in with an unbeaten 38 lower down the order, and Jamie Overton made 32. Matthew Ford ended with 3 for 35, while Alzari Joseph and Romario Shepherd grabbed the 2 wickets apiece. The game is a winner-take-all after the teams split the first 2 matches. Afghanistan beat Bangladesh by 92 runs in Sharjah today to take a 1-0 lead in their one-day international series. Mohammad Nazi belted 4 fours and 3 sixes in a well-crafted 84, and the captain Hashmatullah Shahidi 52 to help steer the Afghans to 235 all-out in 49 overs and 4 balls. Taskin Ahmed and Mustafizur Rahman both produced 4-wicket performances. A.M. Ghazanfar then snared career best 6 for 24 to rip the heart out of the Bangladeshi batting as they fell for 143 in 34 overs and 3 balls, as only Najmul Hussain Shanto 42 and Suima Sakar 33 got any useful scores. Arsenal's recent poor run of form continued today in the European Champions League. They fell to a 1-0 defeat away to the Italian champions AC Milan at the San Siro in Milan. Hakan Calhanoglu bagged the winner on the stroke of halftime from the spot after Mikel Merino handled the ball in the area. However, the biggest winners on the day, the Spanish giants FC Barcelona, who ran out 5-2 victors over Slavia Vidva on the back of a double from Robert Lewandowski. Bayern Munich needed an injury time winner from the young, brilliant superstar Jamal Musiala to beat Benfica by 1-0. Elsewhere, Atletico Madrid tagged Paris Saint-Germain 2-1. Atalanta turned back VfB Stuttgart 2-0, and Aston Villa lost their perfect record after a 1-0 defeat away to Club Brugge in Belgium. Former Manchester City defender Benjamin Mendy is entitled to the majority of his unpaid salary from the Premier League club, a judge has ruled. The French international, who was charged with rape and sexual assault in August of 2021, took City to an employment tribunal to claim about £11 million before tax in unpaid wages after he was suspended without pay from September 2021 until he left the club in June of 2023. Last year, Mendy was cleared of a series of rape and attempted rape charges. The judge ruled that City were entitled to withhold Mendy's salary for the periods he was in custody, which amounted to about 5 of the 22 months he was not paid. A Football Association suspension meant Mendy, who was on a basic salary of £6 million a year, was unable to fulfill his contractual obligations when not in police custody. The judge said, quote, "I found that Mendy was ready and willing to work during the non-custody periods and was prevented from doing so by impediments which were unavoidable or involuntary on his part." She said the amount Mendy will receive will be calculated between the two parties or at a future hearing if they cannot agree. Mendy was remanded in custody for 5 months before being released on bail in January of 2022. The case went to trial for the first time in August of 2022. In January 2023, Mendy was cleared of 6 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. He was then cleared of raping a woman and attempting to rape another in July 2023 at a retrial. Mendy, who left City when his contract expired, now plays for French side Lorient. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back though with much more at 6:05.
Since Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my One Jane Passport app. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The temperature by the One Jane Passport app is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 28 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackhammer. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, free parts and free repairs. Free parts, free repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
It must stop. It have to stop. Gang violence is not the solution to our problem. It will only cause pain and suffering. Let's find non-violent ways to solve our conflict. Let's work together to create a safer and peaceful Jamaica. Let's all live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
Riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the Cover Story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. How are you doing, Ricardo? The day after.
Where acting that from? All right. I'm good. Good afternoon, Brooks. Okay. All right.
You okay?
Yes.
We're fine.
Good afternoon to our friends on YouTube. Hello to you if you're joining us on radio, and hello to you if you're joining us on the other online platforms. Happy to have you. Well, today was nomination day across 4 locations, and the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, he says it was a smooth process. Of course, that by-elections are going to be on November 22. The 2 constituencies that will go to the polls are Northwest St. Andrew and South Trelawney, while the divisions are Morant Bay in St. Thomas and Ainantown in Clarendon.
For Northwest St. Andrew, the candidates are the JLP's Dwayne Smith and Independents Rohan Banks and Carl Marshall. In South Trelawney, the JLP's Marissa Dalrymple Philibert was nominated, as well as independent candidate Lloyd Gillins. And in Mount Bay, the JLP's Winston Downey and the PNP's Evan Shaw were nominated.
And over in Ainentown, the JLP's Suzette Barton and the PNP's Delroy Dawson were nominated. Nomination day process there ended promptly at 2. Glassboro Brown is saying that with this aspect completed, the electoral office will now advance preparations for the 4 by-elections. He joins us now. Good afternoon, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon to you both and your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Brown, just about how much will these 4 by-elections cost the country?
Well, we have submitted our budget to the Ministry of Finance, and we are able to, because we're doing the 4 of them together, we've benefited from some economics of scale, and we're looking at about 75 million thereabout.
About 75 million.
Yeah.
And in terms of what we've seen in the past, especially most recently in St. Anne, are you projecting a low voter turnout?
Our hope is always from the electoral office side of it is that we anticipate, we hope that the turnout will be better than what was in the past. We are keeping our fingers crossed that there will be some amount of improvement in terms of the voter turnout. Bear in mind, for the municipalities, the 2 traditional parties are contesting, and therefore the competition there is much better, more heightened than compared to what existed in Northeast St. Anne.
And now that the nomination day proceeding that has ended, help our listeners understand the next steps that will lead to the election.
All right. Now that the nominations are in, then we know who are the candidates. We start, come tomorrow morning, we start to put together the preparation for the ballot printing. We begin to put together all the lists, all the materials that are to be prepared for the election day on the 22nd. We begin the identification of our workers. After we have identified our workers, then we start the process of training. Then we'll be selecting those who we are satisfied with in terms of meeting our criteria or the conditions that we have set in terms of the quality of person that we want to assist us on the day. Then we select our supervisors. Then we do a final meeting on the 21st, and then we execute the election on the 22nd.
And about how many election day workers you will need for this series of by-elections?
We're looking at a little bit over 1,000 persons.
And Mr. Brown, I just want to take you back to the matter of cost, because surely at the ECJ, the EOJ, you must be concerned that after we spend so much money as a country, we don't seem to be getting value for money in terms of the turnout we're seeing.
It's always a concern for us in terms of when the voter turnout is low. Bear in mind that we have to prepare at the electoral office of Jamaica. We have to prepare on the assumption that the voter turnout is 100%. So we end up printing ballots for every person based on the number of the names that are on the list. We end up putting a number of things in place in anticipation of a voter turnout of 100%. So when the voter turnout amounts to a small number, it means that a significant amount of our effort and our resources would have gone to waste.
And when you print, for example, the ballots, just help listeners understand, when you expend on that kind level of resource, what happens when you don't use them? You just destroy them?
Right, it cannot be used again, because remember, the ballot would have carried the symbols for the different candidates, the names, etc. So it's not something that you can recycle for another election. So whatever is not used would be normally shredded, destroyed, because they are no further use to us.
So that's literally money just being shredded.
That's a nice way to put it, yes.
Yeah. I know you've said before, Mr. Brown, that the ECJ, the EOJ, has been considering public education and outreach as it relates to voter turnout. Where are we with that?
Well, we have a program in place. We have been doing a number of things. Certainly, we have gone into our schools in terms of assisting them, sort of sensitizing them to the process, why they need to be a part of the process. We have undertaken an arrangement that we go into schools and the universities, colleges, etc., to do their election. And when we do that, we normally use it as a sort of a forum to educate them as to why they should be part of the process. We have started that. We at the same time, we are certainly for the upcoming general election, we're going to put up an educational program in place, a more PR sensitization program in place. So you'll see that being rolled out in a couple of weeks. The aim of that program is to highlight the importance of persons being a part of the process, the need for the individuals to be involved in decision making of whoever becomes the leader of our country. At the same time, we want to educate them and to tell them the pros and cons of what it means when you do that exercise your right to cast that ballot on election day. Mm-hmm. So there's a series of programs of things that we have been doing. We have been going into the schools, the colleges, and the universities, and at the same time we are putting together a PR program geared towards the upcoming local government, this upcoming general election, sometime on or before September next year.
I know a number of years ago we were looking at this aspect of electronic voting, and there are some aspects of it that the EOJ tried to implement. Is it that idea has been shelved, or is something that is still being considered to propose to our legislators to move more towards electronic voting within the polling stations?
We continue to do that. We to a limited extent, in a sense, I think we are concentrating now on roughly 7 constituencies. It's a very costly exercise, and we hopefully over time, as the technology gets a little bit more affordable, that we're able to roll it out in more than the 7 constituencies that we are currently using that particular mechanism in. So it is still there. It's a focus of the Commission and the EOJ. That's where our thought process is in terms of going forward. But if you look at our long-term plan, our intention is to do much more of that in terms of rolling out into more constituencies, greater use of technology, greater use of electronic voting, etc., etc.
But where my mind is, Director of Elections, if we can utilize more electronic voting, let's say in by-elections, it will eliminate to some aspect the need to have the paper ballot. Wouldn't that over time reduce the amount that we're spending each time we have a by-election?
No, the paper ballots, we have to bear in mind that the ballots are while where we are now is an identification arrangement where we use technology to identify the elector using biometric, your fingerprint, etc. So what will happen though, even if you go the route of issuing that, to a certain extent, the ballots would have been pre-printed. What it might do is issue the ballot.
No, but where my mind is to move away from the printing of ballots, but actually have a system where individuals can vote utilizing the technology, and you don't have to use a printed ballot.
Over time, that's where I guess the country will go. But there are some pros and cons to electronic voting. One is, if for you to implement electronic voting, there's an aspect of it in terms of the connectivity. Is it available in terms of every elector who wants to utilize that means of voting? As I said earlier on, there's a cost factor to it. So there are some pros and cons. While it might be more attractive to the younger generation in terms of using the technology, it's something that's still under discussion, something that is under focus. But there are some issues as it relates to that. How do we ensure that the whole question of secrecy of ballots, the secrecy in terms of the casting on the ballot, is maintained? Mm-hmm. And so those are a number of things that need to be looked at. But ultimately, I think, personally, I think that where we need to go, but maybe not now, but down the road.
Yeah. And Director Brown, I've often been told by our listeners that, they believe that the voters list is perhaps padded with perhaps people who have migrated, may have died, And therefore, this matter of low voter turnout is really a myth because we don't really know what the real number is in terms of how many people are on the voters list. Is that a view that you share?
To a certain extent, I wouldn't say the voter list is padded because the persons who are on the list are legitimate persons that are legitimate put on the list in the sense that they were verified, etc., etc. So it's not a padded list as such. But the list has a number of persons who have migrated over time, correctly, based on what you have said. There are a number of persons on the list whose names would have maybe died, but there's a process that we have in place that we frequently remove persons who have died from our voters list. So there's continuous removal of those persons from the list. We have an arrangement now, certainly it is guided by law, where RGD provide us with a listing of their death registration. However, there are a number of persons in the system, a person who have died, their death have not been registered. So there's a little weakness there.
Yeah.
So therefore, and you're correct in terms of calculating the voter turnout, because if you look at the denominator and doing that, if we read that calculation, have a number of persons who, as you have rightly said, have migrated, etc. So it does not necessarily reflect the true intention of those who want to be a part of the process or who are available to be a part of the process.
Right.
So when you use that denominator, it could, to a certain extent, give the wrong voter turnout in terms of what the true value ought to be.
So you'd support a sort of more extensive verification process?
The verification process is there. What we would support over time to do another re-verification of another enumeration. We now create a new list. You could do it over a number of years, maybe every 10 years or every 12 or 15 years.
Right.
But a timely remuneration. Therefore, the persons who are no longer interested in the process, persons who have migrated, etc., those individuals could be removed from the list.
All right. Director Brown, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. All the best.
All the best to you both. Good.
Thank you.
We're up on the break. Let's take the break and come back with more.
Clearing personal non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:47.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs. From luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, while we feel safe at night.
Charlie, let me ask you something. You not tired of the violence and the body count?
Of course.
That have to stop. That need to stop. We as Jamaicans need to start do things different. The crime, the theft, the violence, all of them things have to stop. We need to start live good.
So what is this live good thing you're talking about?
Why, it's a message you are telling people to live good. So as a country, we can maintain the law, public order, and public safety. Not only that, when we live good with each other, we talk it out, we don't fight it out. We not support crime and badness. We need to do the right thing.
I get it, you know. And for be honest, in a good son, are the right message that fair spread across Jamaica, you know. Live good.
Yeah, man. So make we live good. Make we dash away badness. No to domestic abuse. No to violence in schools. No to child abuse. No to scamming and robbery. Just do the right thing. Support each other. Not tear down or plot against each other. We must respect each other.
True, you're talking, you know. And we have to set an example for the youth them. Me support that. We have to live good
for a better Jamaica. So make we do the right thing and live good.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, but we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica and the Concert Chorale of Harlem present Éclat Opéra, a breathtaking evening of arias, classics, spirituals, and jazz at the Little Theatre. 2 shows, November 16 and 17. Tickets at Monarch Pharmacy, Sovereign and Barbican, Fontana, Waterloo, Music Mart, and online at Eventbrite. The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica and the Concert Chorale of Harlem in concert November 16 and 17 at the Little Theatre. Main sponsors, the Jamaica Tourist Board and the Chase Fund. Details available on Facebook and the press.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. You're listening to The Cover Story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis.
Bringing you the happenings from today's nomination day proceedings across 2 constituencies and 2 divisions. Well, Dwayne Smith, he's going to be contesting Northwest St. Andrew on behalf of the JLP, and he says he's ready to put in the work to be Member of Parliament. Of course, he's following in the footsteps of his father, Derek Smith, who served as Member of Parliament for the constituency for 29 years.
And he has served as councillor for the Chancellery Hall Division, which he has won in the local government elections, and that's 3 times that he has won it.
I'm elated. As you know, it's been some time I actually wanted to transition to this level of government. I think I've waited, as the Prime Minister said, and it's true, and he was correct. I have waited and I have learned, and I am prepared and ready to serve at this level. There's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work has been done by my predecessors. There's a lot of work to be done, and I think I'm ready for the task.
Okay, so your father, he was a former MP for this constituency. How does it feel to be walking in his footsteps at this time?
Excellent. And as I move around and do my house campaign, I find that people are very happy. And they have the view that if I'm even as half as good as my father was, they'd be at the perfect they represent.
And what are some of the plans that you have in place that you couldn't do as a councillor, but now you can do as an MP?
Well, first of all, do some more meaningful action to road development and road construction. Because as the Prime Minister said, there's a lot of bad roads in the constituency. We have done a lot, but there's a lot more to be done. Another issue that I think I'm qualified to speak on, coming from the local government, coming from the parish council, is there's a problem with, I think there's a problem, but there's a proliferation of multi-family developments in the constituency that has been proven to be a vexing issue for residents, and I want to be able to bring fairness and understanding to every party, the developers, the residents, and the new residents. The fact is, we're living in a new country, a new city, a growing city, but the fact of multi-family development in the constituency is a vexing one, and I want to bring all the parties together to explain what the rules are. Everybody believes and knows that they're being treated fairly. Right now, there's a lot of issues about the multi-family development in the residential areas. I'm trying to bring all the parties together, especially with my knowledge of the level, especially as someone who approves some of these developments, to explain to all parties, everyone feels that they are being fairly treated. The developers, the residents, and the new residents of the country.
And that's Dwayne Smith. He is the JLP's representative for St. Andrew Northwest in that by-election. And Marissa Dalrymple Philibert told party supporters that now is the right time to return as Member of Parliament for South Trelawney. She was accompanied by some of her JLP colleagues, including the party's General Secretary, Dr. Horace Chang, Audley Shaw, Everald Warmington, Charles Sinclair, and Frank Witter.
To you that the conscience that allowed me to resign, although I did not have to. I did because I felt it was the responsible thing to do. And the same conscience that guided that decision is the conscience that I have this morning that makes me know that my decision to return to serve the people of South is the right decision at the right time. And I want to say to everyone that I pledge that together as a family, we will, the Jamaica Labour Party will remain in the winning column for this party whenever the Prime Minister comes.
A Mama D. Grung this year. Marissa Dalrymple Philibert addressing Labourites in South Trelawney. And her challenger, independent candidate Lloyd Gillings, he has expressed confidence that he's the right man to lead the constituency.
If you look at our roads, it's a disgrace. If you travel from Albertown to Christiana, you see all the breakaways. I have never seen South Trelawney in such a deplorable condition. You know, I know I may be a David, but I believe I'm the right person to bring back South Trelawney and put it back where it used to be before.
As independent, how much percentage you can get out of this election?
Well, as you know, everybody expecting a low turnout, but we're looking for a reasonable amount to win.
What would you call a reasonable amount? 3,000 votes?
We're looking at 4,000, 3,500. Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's independent candidate.
Fire their must tail and take a cool breeze.
That's independent candidate Lloyd Gillings. I like the
confidence is
the
important.
Confidence.
Yeah.
And it's important in elections.
And you know, I want Sanjay for there to come a day when independent candidates are taken seriously in our politics.
Yes.
I mean, I jest and I laugh now, but I do hope that they do.
We hope for that. Well, in the meantime, the PNP's Delroy Dawson says the JLP has failed in its representation of the Town division.
You just nominated just now. What is going to be different from your strategy from before?
All right. Our strategy this time is to press the ground, go to the people, ask them for the chance to continue to represent them. In the last election, I know most of our comrades didn't come out to vote. So we got to get them engaged in this election, begging them to come out and vote for us and vote early.
You represent the people before. What was the reason why the JLP took the seat the last time?
All right, the last time, I know that we had some financial difficulties. As you know, the parish council resources are very limited. I didn't have a member of parliament who could assist me in the division to really carry out the amount of work I usually do. Therefore, I have to dig deep in my pocket to assist most of the citizens in their demand. So this time, with the pending general election in the year, I know that Comrade Wave Alliance will be victorious and the People's National Party will also be victorious. So the people of this division will be more beneficial in the execution of my duty.
I noticed that you have several persons here supporting you, vice presidents and stuff like that. Talk to us a little bit about that. Your support looked very heavy on the ground.
As you know, this division is a very key division in this by-election. It is the division that will send a signal to both the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party, who will be victorious in the general election. So this is like a referendum, sending signal, time come for the People's National Party. As you know, the PNP is ahead in the poll, and when we win this division, then it will send a stronger signal to the people of the country that, hey, Jamaicans are ready, and any town division has set the tone, and send a signal to the Jamaica Labour Party that time come for the People's National Party.
All right. Time come for the People's National Party. That's what Delroy Dawson, the PNP's candidate in the Town division in Clarendon, says. We'll see. I obviously encourage all voters who are in any of the two constituencies or the two divisions, go out and participate in the by-elections. You have to participate.
Yep.
We need more participation.
Well, we all know the low voter turnout that we're constantly seeing with these by-election, and it's important that individuals exercise that franchise to go out and vote.
Yeah. The GLP's Suzette Barton, she is representing the party in Annan Town, and she says she's going to retain the council seat for her party.
Been in high spirits that we are going to be victorious on November 22, 2024.
Are you new to the race?
I'm new to being a candidate, but I'm not new to the political landscape.
How long have you been in the political landscape?
I have been all my life. Ever since I've been voting, since age 18, I have been a member of the Jamaica Labour Party.
There's a lot of problems I can see in the area, and we just spoke to Mr. Dawson, who told us that there's road issues, there's a lot of education problem and unemployment. What is your plans?
Well, my plans are in line with the Jamaica Labour Party's plans. We are all for prosperity and progress, and of course we will. And we have in place programs. We will continue with these programs to elevate the youths, especially of the constituency, to improve social services, as you said before, roads. We have been doing quite a bit of road rehabilitation in the constituency. Remember, we are just 4 years into our term, and we have been doing what we can do in rehabilitating the roads. That's our main issue.
Yep. Suzette Barton there, the GLP's candidate in Annan Town. 7 minutes after 6, that's all the time we have for the cover story. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Director of Elections Glaspole Brown says Wednesday's nomination day proceedings went smoothly across the 4 areas up for the November 22 by-elections. The constituencies that will go to the polls are Northwest St. Andrew and South Trelawney, while the divisions are Morant Bay in St. Thomas and Annan Town in Clarendon.
Today went fairly smoothly and there were no hitches as such. We candidates been nominated all the 4 locations that were up for nomination. Trelawney South, we had 1 independent candidate being nominated, and then we have a candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party. In St. Andrew Northwest, you had 2 independent candidates and 1 candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party. In the municipality of Morant Bay, we had 2 candidates being nominated, 1 for the People's National Party and 1 for the Jamaica Labour Party. The same thing happened in the Annan Town division, and therefore we have an election in all 4 locations on the 22nd of November.
The nomination day process ended promptly at 2 p.m. Mr. Brown says with this aspect completed, the electoral office will now advance preparations for the by-elections.
We're looking to bring on board a little bit over 1,000 persons to assist us on election day. It will be a combination of our staff and also staff from within the division and within the constituency. But the majority of the persons we used on that day will be persons from our staff company. For Annan Town, we have roughly 6,921. For St. Andrew Northwest is 31,729. For Morant Bay is 11,009. And Trelawney South, 25,041 persons on the voters list. As we approach election, we again use your medium to appeal to the persons who will be voting. They have not yet collected their new ID card, to do so as quick as possible before the day.
Glaspole Brown, Director of Elections. Meanwhile, the JLP's Dwayne Smith and 2 independent candidates were nominated to contest the Northwest St. Andrew by-election. The independent candidates are Rowan Banks and Carl O'Neill Marshall. Smith told supporters that he is ready to put in the work as their Member of Parliament.
Labour rights has been a long time in coming in Northwest St. Andrew. Labour rights, as I said, it's my time now. And I'm very prepared for the job. I thank you for your unwavering support over all these many years. Labour rights, a lot of work I've done in Northwest in the last couple of years, last couple of decades. And I'm here to add onto the work that has already been done.
Dwayne Smith, the JLP candidate for Northwest St. Andrew. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he believes Smith is now better equipped to take on the role as MP for Northwest St. Andrew.
He should have been the candidate 6 years ago. And at that time, I had a good talk with him. Dwayne understood that the exigencies of the time is that former Minister Clark would have been the representative at that time. Now, I believe that within that 6 years, Dwayne would have had time to grow and to have a deeper and better understanding of representation. And as a councillor, he would have exercised those duties to the fullest, and he would have also had an opportunity to strengthen his organizational skills. So I think at this time, he's now ready for representation in Parliament.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And the 2 candidates have been nominated for the by-election in South Trelawney. They are the JLP's Marissa Dalrymple Philibert and independent candidate Lloyd Gillings. Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert told the party supporters that now is the right time to return as MP.
The conscience that allowed me to resign, although I did not have to. I did because I felt it was the responsible thing to do. And the same conscience that guided that decision is the conscience that I have this morning that makes me know that my decision to return to serve the people of South is the right decision at the right time.
Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, JLP candidate for South Trelawney. Her challenger, Lloyd Gillings, expressed confidence that he is the right man to lead the constituency.
Over the years, this constituency has been neglected. If you look at our roads, it's a disgrace. If you travel from Albertown to Christiana, we see all the breakaways. I've never seen South Trelawney in such a deplorable condition. I know I may be a David, but I believe I'm the right person to bring back South Trelawney and put it back where it used to be before.
As independent, how much percentage you can get out of this election?
Well, as you know, everybody expecting a low turnout, but we're looking for a reasonable amount to win.
Lloyd Gillings, independent candidate for South Trelawney. In other news now, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says there has been a significant reduction in the number of active gangs in the country. He was speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing.
In recent years, the JCF has significantly disrupted the activities of criminal organizations, reducing the number of active criminal gangs in Jamaica by more than half. It's a deliberate strategy to go after the persons foremost in perpetrator of violence. Indeed, the Commissioner used the expression, communities are not violent, individuals are violent, and we seek to build the cases around those individuals. Our intelligence has identified just under 230 such persons of high priority. They have been prioritized for investigation, and so far, 90 of them are wanted for murders and other major crimes, and are being pursued by our fugitive apprehension teams across the country.
Dr. Chang says the security forces have also made a significant dent in the number of illegal firearms flowing into the country.
We must also recognize our success in removing illegal firearms from our streets, a critical step in preventing violence before it occurs. So far this year, 667 illegal firearms were taken off the streets. In this area, we are taking further steps to work closely with our partners. We must also recognize our success in removing illegal firearms from our streets, a critical step in preventing violence before it occurs. So far this year, 667 illegal firearms were taken off the streets. In this area, we are taking further steps to work closely with our partners overseas partners and to improve and increase the intensity of our review of our ports of entry to prevent the continued influx of illegal firearms in the country.
Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of National Security. Meanwhile, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Richard Stewart, says the reduction in major crime numbers since the start of the year reflects the JCF's success in curtailing gang violence across the island.
These reductions in major crime numbers reflect the effectiveness of our strategies to reduce gang-related activities and violent crimes. The downward trend across multiple crime categories highlights our continued success in combating and curtailing gangsters and gun violence, contributing to safer communities across the nation.
Richard Stewart, Deputy Commissioner of Police. The Met Office has discontinued the flash flood warning for low-lying and flood-prone areas of southern parishes. The flash flood watch for low-lying and flood-prone areas of northern parishes has also been discontinued. In its latest update, the Met Office says the area of showers and thunderstorms associated with Hurricane Raphael continues to decrease. Meanwhile, the National Works Agency says the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine remains closed. NWA says the gorge will be closed for at least the next 12 to 16 hours. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend $6,000 or more before GCT at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes courtesy of Lasco, Grace Foods, and Facey Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. The best value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies set 264 to beat England in the third and final one-day international at the Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados. The West Indies at the moment are 61 for 1. Yeah. Let me just bring you up to date with the official scorecard. Here it is. Brandon King is not out on 31 at the minute. Evan Lewis was the man who was dismissed, and he was caught by Adil Rashid of the bowling of Jamie Overton for 19. He faced 17 balls and he slammed the 2 4s and a 6. And Casey Carty is the other not-out batsman. He's on 11. So Brandon King is on 31 and Casey Carty on 11. 10 overs, in fact 11 overs have now been bowled, and it's 69 for 1. The West Indies chasing 264 to win, so they need a further 195 runs from 39 overs. And England centre-back made 263 for 8 in their 50 overs. Phil Salt led the charge with a well-crafted 74. He was supported by Dan Moosely, 57, Sam Curran, 40, while Jofra Archer weighed in with an undefeated 38, lower down the order, and Overton, he made 32. Matthew Ford ended with 3 for 35, while Alzari Joseph and Romario Shepherd, they grabbed the 2 wickets apiece. The game is a winner-take-all after the teams split the first 2 matches. Afghanistan beat Bangladesh by 92 runs in Sharjah today to take a 1-0 lead in the one-day international series. Mohamed Nasi belted 4 fours and 3 sixes in a well-played 84, and the captain Hashmatullah Shahidi, 52, to help steer the Afghans to 235 all-out in 49 overs and 4 balls. Taskin Ahmed and Mustafizur Rahman both produced 4-wicket performances. A.M. Ghazenfar then snared a career-best 6 for 24 to rip the heart out of the Bangladeshi batting as they fell for 143 in 34 overs and 3 balls, as only Najmul Hussain, Shanto, 47, and Suima Sakar, 33, got any useful scores. Arsenal's recent poor run of form continued today in the European Champions League. They fell to a 1-0 defeat away to the Italian champions AC Milan at the San Siro. Hakan Calhanoglu bagged the winner on the stroke of half-time from the spot after Mikel Merino handled the ball in the area. However, the biggest winners on the day was the Spanish giants FC Barcelona, who ran out 5-2 victors over Craven Zaveda on the back of a double from the Polish international Robert Lewandowski. Bayern Munich needed an injury-time winner from their superstar Jamal Musiala to beat Benfica by a 1-0. Elsewhere, Atletico Madrid tagged the Paris Saint-Germain 2-1. Atalanta turned back VfB Stuttgart 2-0. And Aston Villa, they lost their perfect record after a 1-0 defeat away in Belgium to Club Brugge. Former Manchester City defender Benjamin Mendy is entitled to the majority of his unpaid salary from the English Premier League club, a judge has ruled. The French international, who was charged with rape and sexual assault in August of 2021, took City to an employment tribunal to claim about £11 million before taxing unpaid wages after he was suspended without pay from September 2021 until he left the club in June of 2023. Last year, Mendy was cleared of a series of rape and attempted rape charges. The judge ruled that City were entitled to withhold Mendy's salary for the period in which he was not in custody, which amounted to about 5 of the 22 months he was not paid. A Football Association suspension meant Mendy, who was on a basic salary of £6 million a year, was unable to fulfill his contractual obligations when not in custody. And Mendy was remanded in custody for 5 months before being released on bail in January of 2022. The case went to trial for the first time in August of 2022. And Mendy, who left City when his contract expired, is now playing at the French team Lorient. China's Olympic champion Zheng Qingwen crushed Jasmine Paulino to secure a place in the WTA finals last 4 on her tournament debut. The 22-year-old showcased her power in an easy 6-1, 6-1 win that eliminated the Italian Paulino. It left Zheng with a 2-1 group stage record, with her sole loss coming against Irina Zabalenka on the first day of the tournament. She is the second Chinese woman to reach the semi-finals of the tournament, following the legendary Li Na in 2013. Having already clinched the year-end world number 1 ranking, Sabalenka will top the group if she beats Elena Rybankina late on Thursday. The tournament, contested between the top 8 singles and doubles players, offers record prize money, with an unbeaten singles champion set to collect just under $4 million. The WTA finals have been held in Saudi Arabia for the first time, a move which has been criticized by some because of the country's human rights record. Olympic boxing champion Imani Khalif is back in the spotlight this week following fresh questioning of her eligibility to have competed in the women's competition at the Paris Olympic Games. A report last week in French magazine Le Correspondant claimed to have seen a leaked medical report about the Algerian. The local media said they have been unable to verify the claims. The International Olympic Committee, which has repeatedly defended the boxers' right to participate in the women's category, says the report cites unverified documents whose origin claim cannot be confirmed. IOC also says that Khalif, who is already taking legal action against individuals who commented on her situation during the games, is now, quote, preparing a lawsuit in response to the latest report. The IOC saddened by the abuse, they say, that Iman Khalif is currently receiving. Khalif, who competed at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics and who is also a World Championship silver medalist, has always insisted she's eligible for the women's competition. The 25-year-old Algerian won women's welterweight gold in Paris this summer, a year after being disqualified from the World Championships for reportedly failing gender eligibility tests. The tests were conducted by the Russian-led International Boxing Association, who were later stripped of their world governing body status by the IOC over integrity and governance issues. The IBA said Khalif failed to meet the eligibility criteria for participating in women's competition. At sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
Yo, run the track! Burger King 5K and Relay is back Sunday, November 10th, 6 a.m. New venue, Emancipation Park. Register with your school, alma mater, or companies to win a share of over $1 million. Past students, run, walk, or crawl, but finish the race for the BK Big Finish Prize. Register now at www.runningeventsja.com. Yo, run the track! Burger King 5K and Relay, sponsored by Rainforest Soccer Express. Burger King, developing schools and communities through sports.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins After Dark.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Catch the E-Zone with me, the Stinger Honeybee, alongside
Kareem Boyatings.
as we turn up the heat
in the street. New show,
new vibes.
Same us.
Same us.
Monday to Friday, 3 to 5 p.m.
Right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
We'll bring you entertainment news.
We'll take away your Monday blues.
You don't want to miss a week with us.
We'll talk health.
Well,
jump into the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss the brain buster.
Or the crazy giveaways.
I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow.
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. Tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's talk justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special good evening to our friends on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know, we like to hear from you, so we ask you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion. And we're turning our attention over to the U.S. elections. Done and dusted, some would say. Donald Trump has been elected the 47th President of the United States in an extraordinary comeback for a former president. Yes, with a win in Wisconsin, Trump cleared the 270 electoral votes needed to clinch the presidency. He won Michigan on Wednesday afternoon, sweeping the blue wall along with Pennsylvania, the one-time Democrat-leaning swing states that all went for Trump in 2016 before flipping to President Joe Biden in 2020. His Democratic rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, called Trump on Wednesday to concede the race and congratulate him. A short time after, Biden also called Trump to congratulate him and to invite the president-elect to the White House, formally kicking off the transition ahead of the inauguration day. Now, Biden also called Harris. In Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, what's your reaction to Donald Trump's election win? What do you make of the election win by Donald Trump? All right, let's get to the comments on our social media platform real quick. I'll start on X. Graham Jervis is saying he's not surprised. Sher is saying she's not sure. Shocked, but not shocked. She's saying that she kind of knew it was coming, especially from social media voters. All right. Don O'Mealy says it was expected. It was a no-brainer that he would win. Same too says Naaman. It was expected. Douglas Rogers says Americans did a disservice to the entire world by electing Trump. Corey Tomlinson believes that it will be hell on earth. Yeah? Shower Girl is saying that morality win and America don't want no woman president. We should learn from Hillary days. Remember Trump bully his way right through? Democrats are winning too much things. Okay? Yeah, that's coming from Shower Girl. All right, so let's go on over to Facebook where Winston is saying, very good victory for America. Donald Trump was the better of the two candidates. Donald Trump is the more genuine of the two candidates, and he's saying kudos to the American voters for making the right choice. Maureen McLeod is saying, I'm not surprised as the gender and abortion issues didn't sit well with many. America will not embrace a black female president. The undocumented have much to worry about. Sean Major Campbell is saying, we give thanks for the inspiration that VP Kamala Harris has given to those on the side of integrity, truth, and decency. It is still okay to have expected the choice of a qualified woman over a racist, and convicted felon. May we continue to stand on the side of righteousness, peace, and love, says Sean Major Campbell, and may we ever stay on the side of goodwill for all. And he says, peace be with everyone. Yeah? Michelle Bernard says, Twitter and AI did it for him. Yeah? Jeffrey Clive says Trump should be at home playing with his grandchildren. Yeah, he's 78 years old. Philip Jackson says Barabbas has been chosen over Jesus. That kind of style. America don't care about morals and values. Cliff Brown, well, when they asked Kamala Harris on The View what would she do different from Joe Biden, her response was not a thing that comes to mind, so it tells you that she's not ready for the job. Shins for Life Law says that's what the Americans want. At least he doesn't support certain type of nasty lifestyle. He's the first American president I ever heard use the name Jesus. All right, Shins for Life. Leonard Wilkinson is saying the people have spoken. Their decisions are theirs to have and to hold. The USA have gone back to the Trump inception. Michael Henry, only care about who wins the next Jamaican election. American business that. All right. And Carl Morris saying, maybe now that he will be back in office, I'll pay less at the gas pump. He's a businessman, that I know for sure. Yeah. We're reacting to Donald Trump's election win In the U.S., Ralph Ormsby says, first thing I want him to do is to tell Prime Minister that he will not tolerate him having... Okay, wow. All right. Natalie Winter says, the best choice for America, Donald Trump. Anne-Marie says she's very disappointed. To the comments now on our YouTube platform, Lily White says, that was what really bothers me, transgender and abortion. Yet I went with her. Too much disrespect from Trump. Trumpet. Okay. David Nebar is saying America likes to have a racist leader. Wow. Jacqueline Thomas says Harris going, dancing and showing her teeth. All right. Let me see if I can get in a few more. PB says if Trump is the only hope, America gone to the dogs. David Nebar is saying that he only used the name Jesus to get to win. Yeah? Godfrey saying that he's not surprised. He called it 2 years ago. Time to make America great again. And he says, who God bless, no man curse. Jacqueline Thomas says, America need for change. Yeah? Let me see if I can get in a few more. Andre Francis saying that we don't care. Who cares? Who win more important? Who will win in Jamaica House next year? Yeah? Yeah. Kevin Bailey, undocumented Jamaicans in USA numbering about 300,000 are facing deportation. Yep, he did make some promises as it relates to deportation for sure. Donald Trump should be in prison, David Nebar. Tanya Jones says she's not surprised and she's congratulating Trump. Glenn Roy believes that it's the signs of the time. Yeah? It's the signs of the time. Marcus, the best blessings to you. Good evening. I see your comment there. Thank you very much for that. Wise Emissary saying, Trump say this is the last time America will be voting. Huh? Yeah? Wow. Let me see if I can get a few more. Clifton Ricardo Russell believes he doesn't follow polls and fake news from our Facebook comment here. Mustafa Collins says, people no longer vote for the issues anywhere. It's a pity. The good suffers for the bad. The majority rules. Let me see if I can get some of our Instagram comments. Yeah. Jamaican Garrick is saying, I foot them weak out from last night. Me have running belly. Feel weak in my eyes. I didn't sleep all night. Just calling sick this morning for work. Hey, some people take it serious, you know, like some people, some Jamaicans, not even Jamaicans only, but some people really take it serious. Like we saw Cliff with his diapers this morning and we were like, oh my, yeah. Some of our YouTubers did say that he should definitely get some diapers. Yes. All right. The Rebel Lady K says, I'm not surprised. Or she's saying, I'm surprised that you all are surprised. I don't think it's surprised that we're surprised. You know, like me not surprised. Me just did. All right. Mr. Buzz says, hooray, my president, my Republican Party. Let's make America great again. Face is saying, well, whatever they get, they deserve. And Sunflower is also of the same view. Anything they receive from the Orange Man, they deserve it. Gloria Watson says she's sad from last night. Yeah? Mikul on YouTube says, I'm disappointed but not surprised by the winning. And that's how I feel as well. That sums it up. That sums it up. Godfrey said Cliff Frassot from last night. Like when me looking at me, I watch. I say, no man. After 12 missing votes still a tabulate, me say, wow, 200 in my seat reach. And I'm like, oh God, me hold my hand on my head. I'm like, wow. Disappointed, not surprised, but disappointed. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. That's all the time we have. Do stay tuned. Up next, the Business Report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Motorists can expect an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, November 7. That's tomorrow. And that's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. Both grades of gasoline, 87 and 90 octane, will go up by 25 cents per litre. Automotive diesel fuel will see an increase of $2.90 per litre, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will increase by $2.86 per litre. Kerosene will increase by $1.96 per litre, while propane liquid petroleum will go up by 96 cents per litre, and butane liquid petroleum will increase by $1.58 per litre. Further afield, U.S. shares hit record highs on Wall Street, and the dollar posted its biggest gain in 8 years as Donald Trump was re-elected to the White House in a historic win. Bitcoin also hit an all-time high following Trump's election promise to prioritize the volatile cryptocurrency. Investors were, however, betting that Trump's plan to cut taxes and raise tariffs will push up inflation and reduce the pace of interest rate cuts. Higher rates for longer mean investors will get better returns on savings and investments they hold in dollars. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 51 cents to buy the US dollar. It cost 203 Jamaican dollars and 89 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 113 Jamaican dollars and 99 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited are authorized distributors of international brands ABB, Omron, STC, Festo, and Thomas & Betts. They supply programmable logic controllers, photoelectric and proximity sensors, contactors and soft starters, power supplies, variable frequency drives, and much more. Visit them at 24 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston, or shop 32 Overton Plaza, 46 Union Street, Montego Bay, or visit their website cleasling.net. Cleasing Industrial Supplies for all your industrial automation and control solutions.
KFC popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious, finger licking in the sauce when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Delicious, juicy, irresistible. Now available in barbecue. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Looking to rent a fully operational production studio? Then Nationwide 90 FM has got you covered. We have flexible options to meet your recording needs any day of the week. Monday to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays available upon request. Bookings must be made in advance. Call us today at 630-1210. Let us help you reach your production desires.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Taboo topics, voyagings after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Welcome back here on Nationwide Radio. It's 6:40 and it's time for the Nation's Business. My name is Sanjay Lewis.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Well, the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has addressed the nation for the first time since Donald Trump's decisive election victory on Tuesday. Trump is now the 47th president-elect of the United States. Earlier today, Harris called Trump to concede the election. Speaking at Howard University in Washington, D.C., Harris says despite the outcome of this election, her heart is full.
My heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States. Of the 7 crucial swing states, Trump has won North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and he's ahead in Nevada and Arizona. The Republicans have also taken the Senate. They've taken control from the Democrats. The win caps a historically tumultuous campaign that included 2 assassination attempts, and Trump is the first person since Grover Cleveland way back in 1893 to win non-consecutive presidential terms.
Well, hailing a magnificent victory, the Republican told the jubilant crowd in Florida, America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
Donald Trump, President-elect of the United States. For reactions now, we're being joined by the former U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica, Donald Tapia, appointed back in 2017, I believe, by Donald Trump. Member of the Jamaican diaspora, Dr. Clovis B. Nelson, is also with us. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Hearing you clearly. That's Dr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ambassador? Not hearing the ambassador. Ambassador Tapia? All right.
Well, let's start with you, Dr. Nelson. Despite all the negatives about Donald Trump, the Democrats were not able to convince the majority of the Americans. What went wrong?
That's a very serious question. Everybody is still trying to figure out what went wrong. Good evening. Good evening to the listeners. I don't know if I have the answer as to what went wrong. Where I'm at right now, and a lot of persons that I have been talking with since the results of the election, is how will this impact the Caribbean region, Jamaica, and how this new administration of President Trump, synchronize with the whole debate on improvement in foreign policy, especially when it comes to immigration policies, and his arguments about what he would be doing, when he wins or become president again. Most of the dialogue that I've been a part of revolves around these things. Where do we go from here? How will this new presidency of President Trump impact the Caribbean region and Jamaica?
And in your mind, when we speak especially on the matter of the deportation that he spoke about, are you concerned, and the others that you have spoken to, that this may in fact become a reality?
Yes, a lot of myself and a lot of the persons I'm in the dialogue with on the issue, looking back on the history of President Trump and the rhetorics during the campaign, his own words, during the development of the campaign up to now, speaks volumes, and a lot of people are very concerned. A lot of migrants are concerned, people who are in limbo, Jamaicans included, people whose immigration status is in the works or in the process, or held up somewhere in the bureaucracy of the process. People are concerned. Now, this might just be a situation of crying with no real reason to cry, because nobody knows what the fine print will say at the end of the day.
And former Ambassador Tapia, we have seen the world last night recognize that Donald Trump won, and won decisively. What do you think contributed to this?
To address, gentleman just talked about immigration. If I could touch on that before we go to the next question.
Yes,
there's no country without a border. I cannot fly into Jamaica and say I'm going to stay here without having immigration papers filled out. We have in our country now Chinese, people from Iraq,
I'm
people
sorry.
from Venezuela.
I'm sorry, Ambassador?
People from South. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm having a little bit of a difficulty hearing you.
I can hear you very well.
You're coming across muffled.
A little muffled.
If you have the headset close to you, could you move the phone away a bit?
I do not have headphones on.
Much better,
Much
Ambassador.
better now. Yes.
Please, continue.
So when we talk about immigration, the people talk about deportation and so forth, as the other gentleman would just talk about, that you should be leery of it. The first thing is, as I said, you cannot have a country without a border. We have had hundreds of thousands of people that have crossed our border from different countries around the world. From Poland, from Iran, from Venezuela, where in fact they emptied their prisons in Venezuela and sent them to the U.S. Everybody was coming into the U.S. unvetted, so we don't know who's here. No country is a country without a border, and I think everybody would agree with that. Now, on deportation, that's not in my privy. That's up to the immigration department and so forth. And we know that there will be some deportations. That we know that there's some very bad people that were let into this country. When he talked about exporting or deporting all these people, you're not going to deport all. You're not going to be able to deport all these people. But we want the bad actors deported, as any country would want the bad actors deported. The problem that we have in immigration is that the young men coming across, and if you look at the age group that's coming, they're coming in the age group of the worker. Now, when the worker comes, they're going to have wives, they're going to have children, and of course, that's a way of life. Our school system cannot handle the immigration that is coming because the Justice Department has said that we must teach these children in their home language, which means we've got Spanish, we've got German, we've got Poland, we've got all these other countries of people coming into our country. They're saying that we must teach these children in their home language. We don't have the capability to do that, so that's going to cause a problem. That's something that we look forward down the road. That's all I'll say about immigration. Now, your next question, go.
So you mentioned.
If I may say something to the to what was just said. Nobody is advocating for immigration without responsibility. That's not the issue. The concern that I'm getting, as I mentioned earlier, from Jamaicans and some Caribbean people here in South Florida, is that nobody knows where the line will be drawn. But responsible immigration is not the issue here. The issue is everything seems to be ambiguous when it comes to President Trump, based on his own words. So people are concerned. The finer details of it will, as I said earlier, we have to think about. And I don't think he's just going to grab people and throw them out of the country. But nobody knows the implications going forward will be. That's just what they're saying.
Yeah. Ambassador, isn't that a fair criticism that Donald Trump has not been very specific on some of his policy prescriptions? So he will say he's going to fix it, and he doesn't really explain how, what that will cost, what it will look like. Isn't that a fair criticism, Ambassador?
That's fair criticism. I get that too. That's fair criticism. The first thing is he will fill the border, cut the border, the immigration flow from the countries into the U.S. I think that's the first step that he will probably take, and I'm not in his mind, but that's the first thing that I would think that he would do. Now, to address what the other gentleman just said, is that the concern that they should have had the concern when they were in line coming across the border into another country, that they are actually breaking a law. So that's one of the first thing is that they can ask for asylum. Before, when Trump was when he was elected, he worked with the other countries around the world that said, look, if you want asylum, the minute you step out of your country into another country, you have removed yourself from the things that you're running from. You have removed your place from that country to this country. It seems fair to me, because why come all the way from Venezuela if you can go into Colombia and have a life in Colombia and they accept you and so forth? That's what the policy was in the past, and I think, and I can't speak for him, but I can speak for the policy of the past. That was the policy of the past. If you left your country and stepped into another country, you have now accepted asylum within that country. You don't have to wait to the United States and cross 3 or 4 other countries to get into the United States to say, I accept this asylum. That's what, in the past, his policy was. What his policy is going to be on a go-forward basis, I have to agree. it's not laid out there, in a manner that we all understand. But keep in mind, he just got elected, and there's a lot of things that he's dealing with.
Let us look back at
a critical issue. Wait a minute, it is a critical issue that he will have to address very quickly.
Let us look back on the campaign, Donald Tapia, because with all the negatives that were said on the political platform of the Republicans and from Donald Trump and his supporters, what do you think contributed to this win? This win, even though you would have heard some of the rhetoric that transmitted on stage.
I can only direct you that this is the popular vote that he received was one of the highest popular votes in the history of the United States of the president. So that means that you're swimming. I hate to say, but you're swimming upstream because it shows you that the American people, all the American people, all classes of the American people, all ethnic classes of the American people, agree with Donald Trump's policy, or they would not have voted in the massive number that they stood in line to vote. So you're swimming upstream on some of the comments that you're making.
And Dr. Nelson, is it that the Democrats were paying all this attention on the rhetoric on the various comments that we heard on stage, and spending less time focusing on what Jamaicans would call the ground game, focusing on those counties that really mattered?
That's another difficult question to answer because nobody can say with certainty what caused the outcome of the election. Because I think both candidates did a fair amount of groundwork, house to house contacts and travel from state to state doing their thing. I would want to think that they did an equal amount of that. I'm not too sure, proportionately who did more and who did not. But I think I will agree with Mr. Tapia right there that the American people have spoken. And much to a lot of people's dismay or disbelief, they have spoken. And, it's pretty much, a situation as simple as that.
And you say they have spoken, much to some people's dismay. What do you interpret the message to be? What message does this send? That despite all he has said and all he has done, he has been able, as the ambassador said, to amass such a significant share of the vote. What message do you think it sends?
The situation surrounding the American elections, or the American political structure on a whole, and the socio-economic situation in the United States is a multifaceted one. And so that, again, is a question that I don't think anybody can give an answer with surety, But a lot of messages are out there. Whether the message be Mr. Trump resonated more with the masses for whatever reason, the indictments against him, charges against him, people don't pay much attention to those things in terms of, how they measure somebody's political competence or capability. So it is a very, it's an onion. Mm-hmm. You're talking about an onion here with many layers, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what or which of the layers, we should be focusing on.
And Donald Tapia, what do you think Trump's win signifies for the future of the Republican Party and broader the broader political landscape in the U.S.?
Well, let me first, and I think that the gentleman is speaking well, and he's well versed, and I agree with what he's saying. But at the same time, if you look at the election. Take a look at
the ambassador's line is really bad.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Could you go again, Ambassador? Hello? Go again, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you take a look at the the composition of the vote, of the people that were voting. The older people versus the younger people, we find that the teenagers, now I shouldn't say the teenagers, but the 25 and below went to Donald Trump. We find that the Hispanic, that he cut into the Hispanic vote very heavily. He broke into the black vote very heavily. So you're seeing that some of these, that the Democratic Party has moved far away from their core people in their thought process. They need to come back, and in fact, the commentators, the Democratic commentators, are actually saying we need to move back to the core of what the Democratic Party stood for 20 years ago. It doesn't stand for the same value. So they're actually looking at themselves, which is good, which means we need a two-party system that is strong and that can take a look at an issue and have disagreements but come to a collaboration between the two to try to make it better for America. Mm-hmm. We don't have that today. We have the far left and the far right. We have to come back to the middle for the American people, for all the people, the colors, the ethnic groups. We need to now come together and stop looking at one another as, well, you're black, you're white, you're yellow, you're green. We need to start looking at each other as Americans.
Yeah. Well,
we must remember that the first thing that we think about, as when I became ambassador, I was a Republican ambassador, but in my confirmation hearing, and when I went before the Democratic Committee, I said the one thing: if I am confirmed, I am not a Republican. I represent the American people. And I looked at them and I said, I represent the Democrats, the Independents, the Republicans.
Yes.
But it's my job as an American is to represent America, all of us, not be inclusive as a Republican.
And Dr. Nelson, as we go, I want to hear you quickly on this one. Where do you see Kamala Harris going from here? Do you think that there will be an appetite for her to return and run again for President of the United States?
I do believe so, and I believe, the Democratic Party, as Mr. Tapia rightly said, need to focus its purpose and its objectivities. It needs to do an evaluation of the party, structure, the party affiliations, the party's objectives, and try to see how that measure up against the needs of the people. The grassroots, especially the grassroots people, the immigrants, those that are in limbo, people who are feeling that they were left, they were shafted in one way or the other. But on both sides of the fence, we're seeing a situation where the political parties are seemingly moving away from center. I will agree with Mr. Tapia on that. And so I think Ms. Harris has a bright future for the United States. I think she's a worthy candidate. I think she's a very brilliant woman, and I think she just needs to recalibrate. The Democratic Party on a whole need to take a step back, do some evaluation, look in the mirror and ask themselves the question, where did we go wrong? What can we do, differently going forward? But I think there's a bright future for her in the American political sphere.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica, Donald Tapia, member of the Jamaican diaspora, Dr. Clovis B. Nelson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, have a good one. And of course, the world hopes and watches. January 20, Donald Trump will take the oath of office for the second time. I will say, when Nelson says the Democratic Party needs to recalibrate and Ms. Harris needs to recalibrate, here's my fear. My fear is that last night what we saw was a lurch to the right. not just in Georgia or North Carolina or Pennsylvania, but in blue states. Illinois, I think she won Illinois by 5. New York, margin was cut. New Jersey, California. So there's a decline all over, and a lurch to the right. My fear is that the reading that the Democrats will take from this is that they need to embrace either populism or right-wing politics. And I think as a general matter, that's going to be bad for everybody. And finally, I don't believe you're going to see a woman nominated by a major political party in the United States for quite some time to come. And I think that will be an indictment on their system as well.
That I will agree with Ricardo, but the politics in the US have a tendency, when they think it's going too far left, it's pulled more right. And when they think it's going too far right, it's pulled back left. So I would not necessarily go down that road with you, but I will agree with you as it relates to a female. Someone said it to me 2 days ago that the United States does not have the appetite to elect a female president at this moment. And that person, sadly, may be right.
The point you make about the pendulum swinging, I used to believe that as well. I no longer believe that. And I no longer believe that because societies have become so polarized where there's little movement now. So people have established camps and they're firmly in those camps. And so you start to fight over a sliver of, the famed quote-unquote independents or undecideds. And sometimes people overplay their hand in playing to that small sliver, which I think Kamala Harris did. To the exclusion of, her left-leaning base in some ways.
And that's the problem.
No, but that's the thing. There is not going to be any movement to the left. I don't think that's happening. The movement has now, over the last 8 years, consistently been to the right. I don't think independents are breaking to the left. They're breaking to the right. And that's why I fear that.
I just want to say this one last thing. Part of the challenge, and Dr. Nelson indicated earlier, the Democrats, they have not focused on their base. They have not.
But isn't that the polarization I'm talking about?
But you have to do that. You have to ensure that you are securing your base so that those base votes you can get.
But that base is going further left.
I don't necessarily think that, Ricardo. It's
such a transgender ideology. The climate, the way they're framing the climate crisis, the way they frame matters of national security. There has been, at the base of the Democratic Party, a steady decline into very radical left-leaning policies. In fact, when she first ran in 2020, that's why she was so unpopular. Because she thought she needed to embrace these radical left-leaning policies to be elected. She was rejected. And then in 2024, she had to try to move to the center to try to be elected. And that caused her to be framed as a hypocrite. But the producer is not happy with us because we're out of time. We'll continue these conversations. Let's see. But I worry. And I worry about Jamaica too, because the same polarization is happening in this country. 6 minutes after 7, it's time for Think Like a Stockbroker with Siobhan Campbell. We'll also have the Watchman, and then we'll be back to take your calls.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Ready to make every step count? The CB Group UE5K is back for its 13th year, and together we're changing lives. And this year we're aiming for 100 more scholarships, 100 more dreams fulfilled. Join us on Sunday, November 24 at 6:30 a.m. at UE Mona. Let's run for dreams, run for hope, and run for a brighter future at the CB Group UE5K and Run with Passion Kids K. Register now at runningeventsja.com and let's make a difference one step at a time.
Wellington Dental believes that a smile tells 1,000 words. They are dedicated to giving their patients high-quality dental care, offering a full range of dental services so all of your family's needs are met under one roof. Fillings, extractions, crowns, bridges, and much more. They also accept patients using wheelchair. Visit Wellington Dental, 57 Wellington Street, Spanish Town's premier dental provider. Call them today at 876-749-3515.
Some see the glass half empty, others see the glass half full. You check if there's water in the tap, because smart investors think ahead. This is Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker, giving you a clearer perspective on the investment markets.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another episode of Think Like a Stockbroker, where we give you the investment insights that you need to navigate the market. Joining me again for another episode is Jodian Ayres. She's Sagicor Investments Assistant Vice President for Research and Strategy. Good evening, Jody. How are you doing?
Good evening, Siobhan. I'm actually doing well. How are you?
I'm doing quite wonderful. I realized we missed 1 week. We took a little break there for a couple days, but let's get right into it and recap on what we missed out on. I know there's some new economic reports on the international market. Can you give us an update?
Sure. I'm actually quite happy to talk about those reports. I think they're largely good reports, and so that added quite a bit of positive sentiment to market activities. So first up, we look at the consumer confidence. So coming out of that report, there's actually an increase in consumer confidence, and much of what we have been hearing towards the second half of this year, considering that we're coming in a period where we had high interest rates,
yes,
and that kind of pressure on the economy,
inflation fears,
right?
Yes.
And persons were a little bit, the recession, like, are we going into a recession? There was a little bit of nervousness in the market as to what it is that we could see coming out of that, even though we're expecting rates to come down. And so to see consumer confidence being 11% in terms of the month-over-month movement, and this representing, I think, the highest monthly movement in, I think, probably since 2021, sometime in 2021. So that's actually bringing quite a bit of positive sentiment. It means that consumers are seeing that there is likely some path ahead that is going to be favorable for them. And when you look at expectations for even businesses, that was up. So it's saying that when we look further out in terms of where it is that our expectations are, there's positive in that regard. Also coming out was Q3 GDP numbers, which should have been the first estimate in the US. And it was a good performance. However, it was a little bit lower than what the market was expecting. So 2.8% is actually what the GDP growth was for Q3 in the preliminary numbers. So they'll do a revision, so it'll be updated. And this was lower than the 3.1 that the market had expected, and also lower than the 3% that we'd have seen in Q2. But what we note coming out of the reports is that consumer spending has actually been quite a bit of what's pushing activities, and that means then that consumers are seeing they're not holding back as much in terms of their activities, so they're going ahead and they're doing spending, which ties into the consumer confidence, because if it is that I think things are going to get sticky ahead, then I'm likely to delay some of my purchases, right? And so that brings some optimism. And I think when we look further in terms of the international markets and the euro area, they would have also posted good GDP numbers, and we see countries that we thought probably would have slipped into recession didn't. So when we look at some of those bigger names in the eurozone, that there's a little bit of nervousness. We saw that those countries actually didn't go into a recession. So it's actually a mix, but largely positive in terms of those economic reports that we saw coming out last week.
So how does this optimism in both the business and consumer side of things feed now into stock markets?
So it definitely feeds into, because it means that your expectation because who is your consumers are persons for the same businesses that are listed on the market. So if it is that they are seeing optimism in terms of what it is that they're expecting, it means that we can expect that consumers are going to be going out and getting goods and services from these listed companies. So it provides that sort of an upward momentum in terms of how it is that analysts as well as investors are looking forward and expecting companies to perform.
Okay. And you mentioned that Q3 in the United States is now in full swing. I know we have some numbers from places such as Microsoft, Google, Meta, those big tech giants. Can you give us an update?
Sure. So last week we'd have seen what we call 5 out of the 7 magnificent 7 that we refer to them as. And you know, when we spoke about earlier, I think in season 1, when we spoke about Nvidia and we talked about, you know, expectations there, we've seen tech companies do it. You find that the tech companies have largely been pushing a lot of market activity, and it's almost very nerving, as in like, is it a bubble, is it a bubble? And so these are ones that are definitely heavily watched because they have a lot of trading, and activities in these actually can swing the market to a certain extent.
Yes.
So what is key though for these tech companies, and you know, analysts are looking at, is that quite a bit of activity in tech, or in terms of our optimism surrounding these technology companies, is around artificial intelligence. And while it is that we do agree that artificial intelligence is something that's coming and it's going to be useful, we also have to pay, you know, are we going to get bang for buck? Companies are making huge spend. I mean, they're rolling out in terms of the capital expenditure for these companies. Are we going to be seeing the bang for buck? Because at the end of the day, it's still a business. So even though AI is supposed to be doing well in terms of the services that we'll see and how it's going to be utilized, we still have to be, as shareholders, we own the company, so we still want to know, you know, how is it that, you know, this spend is going to flow into the bottom line. And just to point out that your capital expenditure, you won't see that in your income statement, because your income statement expenses look at more so recurring salaries, advertisement, depreciation. And so your capital expenditure is something that you see in a statement that we call the cash statement of cash flows. And so, as you know, the analysts, we tend to do a deep dive in terms of how it is that things are flowing in terms of the cash that a company has, and we do look at that capital expenditure. And I think the markets, when we looked at the numbers coming in, there's also that sort of a watch and see. So I think when we look at Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, prior to the results coming out, there was somewhat of a pullback, and a part of it was the market was saying, you know, are we really getting this AI? Are we really getting, you know, the spend, the bang for buck? And those results actually came out positive, and I think the CEO indicated that they are seeing some of it panning out in terms of that spend. So they found that they're able to land larger deals. They found that it gave them somewhat of a competitive edge in terms of having that AI infrastructure that they have, and they do have plans to do more. And so that would have fed into some of the positive numbers that they saw, and the market would have responded, showing that there is definitely, you know, the expectation that there's optimism or more that could come from going into AI. And as we were talking about retail spending and how that impacts the markets, Amazon, with their results came out and actually saw improvements there, and quite a bit of what pushed that for them would have actually been consumer spending. And so they're saying that they're seeing consumers spending more, and that would have been a positive. Also to highlight as well with Amazon is that they also recorded increases in terms of the advertisement. And what you want to watch as companies that probably started in one segment, so Amazon largely consumer e-commerce, and they're moving into doing more advertisements. You want to watch how much of the revenues they're getting from each segment. Is a segment growing, and what's our expectation for those segments? And that feeds into a lot of the analysis that we'll do and how it is that we look at the future to come, because a company could start in one space, but then there are opportunities to expand into another segment, and how it is that company puts the infrastructure in place to support a growth in a segment that could really do well for a company.
Okay. Before we bring it back locally, though, I want to talk a little bit more on AI. I mean, a few weeks ago in the last season, AI was essentially driving the market forward. Has it stabilized somewhat, or is it now baked into the market, or is it still that major force that it was a few months ago?
I think when you look at the numbers, there's still definite concern. So there is concern. Is it going to be as big as we think it's going to be? And so you see where market participants at points pull back, and so they kind of wait to see what kind of information is coming out. What is the earnings numbers going to show? And in terms of when you look at the questions that they may ask, you know, on the analyst call with the CEO, it's more supportive of, you know, are you going to be doing further spending in this space? How much is it that you plan to spend? How is it that we think we'll see this impacting? How is it that you're going to fund this sort of spending? So you find that even though consumers, or even though not consumers, but even though investors are optimistic about AI, they're still having the concerns. So they're still asking the tough questions. So there's still a bit of, wait and see in moments. There is optimism, but there is still, is probably what we call cautious optimism, in that they're cautious in terms of how it is that, companies, and they're seeking answers, and you have to come with a good strategy in order to get us to continue to support.
Yeah, okay. Well, back now in Jamaica, former finance minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, left us with some news before his departure for the IMF in Washington. We have the Financial Commission, the Fiscal Commission, coming online in January 1, and he made the announcement that Mr. Keith Duncan from JMMB and the chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee is going to be heading the Financial Commission Advisory Committee. Can you give us some information on that?
Sure. So what you want to look at is, and as it is that we have been speaking, season 1, we talked a lot about monetary policy. And you find that as monetary policy is going to become a little bit more accommodative with interest rates coming down, there's going to be more discussion on the fiscal policy side of things. And so when it is that for us in Jamaica, we'd have done quite a bit of work in terms of setting up fiscal policy rules. And those would have enabled us to be a little bit better in terms of debt management, how it is that we perform in a fiscal space. And so our advisory committee helps to kind of police in some ways how it is that we are managing the fiscal side of things. And as I said, it's going to play a little bit more role in terms of economic activity as we go forward in this new period where monetary policy is becoming a little bit more accommodative. And so it's something that is definitely keen in terms of how it is that we are watching fiscal policy. So when you hear fiscal policy, you think taxation, debt management, in terms of government revenue. So it's really looking at government operations, money that comes in the government and how it's spending it. And the government has that ability to use fiscal policy to affect economic environment. So in that space where we had monetary policy that was more restrictive and tightening, you found that on the other side, fiscal policy, gave you a little bit more room. And so you'd see governments right across the board during the COVID period doing what we call stimulus. So they are doing activities while, interest rates are up, to still on the other side, offer that sort of support and buffer. And coming out of the IMF, what they're alluding to is that, seeing that countries would have spent quite a bit in terms of the COVID period to offer support to economic activity. And so they would have used that buffer that they would have had. Now is the time to start rebuilding. So just in our individual lives, we have our emergency fund, which is key. And if something happens and we have to tap into the emergency fund when things start to normalize,
you want to build that fund back up, yes.
Right. So I think there's going to be quite a push to say how it is that we rebuild those buffers, as well as you'd want to look at how it is that government is going to be able to support activities in social programs, as well as performance in terms of economic growth and stability thereabouts. But they're facing a little bit of a challenge because you also don't necessarily want to have higher taxation. But how is it then that you're going to be funding the support for these activities? And so you find that the fiscal policy and the fiscal policy rules give you guidelines and guidance for us to see how it is that we're able to do quite a bit of those activities.
Okay. Considering that EPOC will essentially be wound up now, and that will be replaced by the advisory committee, which will be on top of the fiscal commissioner, is that transition essentially where we're moving from one regime right into another, which essentially fulfills the same role, does that bode well for the market?
I think for our market, it would offer guidance in terms of, as I said, we're kind of moving into a space now coming out of COVID where we have to go back to focusing on the fiscal policy. So prior to COVID, you'd have heard, discussions about fiscal tightening and, watching the coffers and doing that sort of a thing, right? So I think coming now into a space where we'd have somewhat normalized in terms of our economic activity, returning to more pre-COVID levels, having an oversight committee that provides guidance on the fiscal portion of it is really good, because for markets, if the fiscal portion of your country isn't good, then it affects you as a company, because what it means is that there is less investment that will come to our country because they still have to be competitive as country, because international markets have other options. Jamaica is not the only option. So you're looking at a space to say how it is then that we have the capacity or the environment that enables adequate investment. So if you don't have good fiscal regime and policies, then that has some impact in terms of how it is that you attract investing. And it's also, even though we're coming out of what we talk about high interest rates, if it is that government using loose fiscal policy and they have high debt, then that has an impact in terms of how it is then in terms of finance costs for the wider market as well, because what it means is that government now has to be actively coming into market to take money out of the market, and they have to offer attractive rates, which mean that the local company that is trying to raise funds to expand a plant or to set up something new has to then borrow at a higher rate to compete with government paper. And so the management of debt actually has quite a bit of an impact for listed companies as well.
Okay. Well, putting all that in mind, it's time for the weekly stock pick. What do you have for us?
Yes, definitely this week is no different. We'll be looking at Grace Kennedy Limited, and it's a company that most Jamaicans are familiar with from the food portion of it, the Grace Foods.
Yes.
But it's actually what we consider to be a conglomerate, in that it has quite a bit of segments that come together. So we talk about GK in terms of the food section, which is what we're used to, but they have expanded into financial
Several
space,
areas,
right? Yes.
So
when it is that we think of them, there's banking and investment, there's also money services, and they're also into the insurance space as well. Also to note is that for Grace Kennedy, they actually have their shares cross-listed on the Trinidad Stock Exchange. So they are not just on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, they're also on the Trinidad Stock Exchange. And it's quite a big established company. So it's a company that was established, I think about 102 years ago. So they started in 1922. And so what you're looking at is what we call mature companies, and how companies of that nature tend to expand or grow is really through acquisition. So you don't really find a company such as a mature company really growing as much, just through general organic growth. They really do expansion that supports similar activities or complement their activities, and that pushes them further in terms of how it is that they grow. We are looking at in terms of the first half of this year, so we're expecting for their numbers to come out sometime in November, but as it is, we have information for the first 6 months of this year in terms of their performance, and it's actually quite modest. We're seeing where in terms of revenue growth is around 8% that they would have had in terms of growth, but you're also looking at a big company because it's a conglomerate. So 8%, even though it sounds modest in numbers, it's still a big jump in terms of when you look at the billions that is moving by, right? So we'd have seen for that 6 months period an 8% jump, and most of that would have come from all segments except for money services. And as we know, money services are a bit down because of the current foreign exchange market, and a little bit of less in terms of remittances that we have been seeing. So that has been impacting that company. But still good numbers, food doing well as some of the financial, except for money services, positing good performance. When we look at net profit, that was up about 6%. I think I rounded a little bit up. I think it's 5.8 thereabouts. So you may be wondering, based on these numbers, it may not sound, it's a modest numbers. Why are we having it as our stock pick? Why are we recommending it? And one of the things that we look at for GK is that it actually does, in terms of what we talk about, the several business segments, actually allows for diversification. So it means if you think of a company that only had money services, then if that went down, then you would have seen quite a bit of plummet in terms of the overall performance. But because it's a conglomerate, there are several areas, and so that is actually good for us as investors when it is that we're looking at company, in that it has diversification, and so the impact in one area, there's another area that is probably doing well that will support in that space. And as we mentioned, it grows through acquisition, and the latest acquisition would have been Unibev Limited, and what that would have brought for them is that they're able to acquire a company that had probably, in terms of their factory spaces, a little bit more modern spaces, that helps in terms of the overall impact on a company. So in terms of their acquisition, we're not just looking in terms of numbers, but we're looking at, could it bring added efficiency, could it bring some improvement to the overall way in which a company operates. And so we're seeing quite a bit of that with Unibev, and so that is actually part of the positives that we're seeing for GK. Also, when it is that you consider that we are going into a lower interest rate environment, that could have quite a bit of positive impact when it is that you look at the financial side of the company as well. And, you know, we have spoken quite a bit in previous episodes about what we call the PE ratio, which is the price to earnings ratio. When you do the comparison, we look at Grace Kennedy relative to its peers, it has one of the lower price to earnings ratios. And so that is a good thing. And so we're saying to our clients, this is an opportunity to buy into what we consider to be a company that has potential for growth, because there are going to be more opportunities for acquisitions. In fact, they actually have a whole unit that they established probably a year or two ago that is dedicated to mergers and acquisitions, which means that they're actively looking at pipeline to say how it is that we can, you know, find companies that are aligned to what it is that we're doing that could help us to, you know, grow as a business. And so that presents some amount of optimism for a company that's in a space. In terms of geographical expansion, so you don't want to just be focused on one market,
region or
right?
one area, yes.
So they have been expanding. So we know GK has operations in Africa. We know they're in the US, and they actually have a target to improve in terms of the revenues that they earn, in terms of the geographical space, to expand that and not be as locally focused. So they have a target in terms of by 2030, in terms of where it is that they want to go. And so that presents for us some amount of optimism as well, because if it is that they're reaching a wider market, then, you know, we could see a demand for goods and services for that particular company. But as usual, GK is just one of the companies that we would be recommending, and I, as usual, encourage you to reach out to your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor, who can provide full details in terms of what I've discussed here, and can also answer any additional questions you may have about a particular company or just investing in general.
And that's where we're going to leave it this week, listeners and viewers. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Think Like a Stockbroker with Sagicor Investments. Please join us again next week, same time.
That was Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker. Smart investors think ahead. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker. When you build wealth with Sagicor Investments, you never have to settle for less than your dreams. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor, so Sagicor Investments can help you create, grow, and preserve your wealth.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. The ghost of Finsack still haunts us. On Thursday, October 17, 2024, outgoing Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark released the Financial Sector Adjustment Company Finsack archives. The word archives, in context, is a euphemism for stillborn, as in pregnancy, long overdue, dead on arrival, and not serving the original or intended purpose. Starting in the mid-1990s and continuing to the end of the decade, Jamaica experienced a meltdown of the financial sector. Finsack was established January 1997 to mitigate the impact of insolvent financial institutions on the wider economy. January 2009, the Finsack Commission was given life and the mandate to investigate, understand, and learn from the causes of the crisis in order to, hopefully, prevent a reoccurrence in future. After 16 years of work, an additional cost to the beleaguered taxpayer, the Commission failed to produce any findings or reach a conclusion. The so-called archives are nothing more than the working papers of the now defunct body. There are two sides to the story as to the cause of financial institutions and their clients becoming illiquid and government's action through FinSac toward extricating the country from what could have been the death knell of the economy. The Watchman will not weigh in on either side of the controversy. I leave that to people like Dr. Omar Davis, the finance minister for much of the period, and Elon Beckford, head of one of the ill-fated financial institutions. I doubt the two sides will ever see eye to eye. What is not in doubt is the cost to the economy, estimated at $120 billion or 40% of gross domestic product GDP, and the time it has taken to recover. Even more painful is the impact on individuals and their businesses, with an estimated 44,000 businesses, quote-unquote, biting the dust, and some individuals allegedly being sent to an early grave. FinSac victim Valerie Dixon authored a book titled Too Black to Succeed: The FinSac Experience. In the foreword, Honorable Oliver Jones, who headed one of the financial institutions at the center of the debacle, summed up the whole sordid affair this way. I quote, "The story clearly indicates that the FinSac experience is not a nightmare from which one will awake. Indeed, there are real victims who hurt, and in some cases are maimed for life. More importantly, they are unable to answer the question, what did I do to deserve this? I did all the right things, followed the rules, and ended up being failed by leaders and institutions in whom I put my trust." End quote. The unfinished business of the FinSac Commission means that, like an open and festering wound, there will be no closure for the victims. The ghost of this self-imposed and preventable disaster will continue to haunt the country. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
When Sagicor Bank thinks of a woman, here's what we see. We see business leaders managing sole trader businesses to large corporations. We see university graduates as our women uplift themselves academically. We see more homeowners, ambitious women working hard to build their own legacy. We see leadership at home, with women proudly providing for and taking care of their families. We see entrepreneurs, Jamaican women playing a leading role in our economic growth. At Sagicor Bank, we see the invaluable contribution of women in the home, communities, businesses, and development of our country. That's why we're in their corner, supporting Jamaica's women as they strive to achieve their dreams.
Wellington Dental believes that a smile tells 1,000 words. They are dedicated to giving their patients high-quality dental care, offering a full range of dental services so all of your family's needs are met under one roof. Fillings, extractions, crowns, bridges, and much more. They also accept patients using wheelchair. Visit Wellington Dental, 57 Wellington Street, Spanish Town's premier dental provider. Call them today at 876-749-3515.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're on the final stretch now. We're going to take your calls. Those numbers, you know them well. 630-9371 to 4. 618-8255. Soon come.
When Sagicor Bank thinks of a woman, here's what we see. We see business leaders managing sole trader businesses to large corporations. We see university graduates as our women uplift themselves academically. We see more homeowners, ambitious women working hard to build their own legacy. We see leadership at home, with women proudly providing for and taking care of their families. We see entrepreneurs, Jamaican women playing a leading role in our economic growth. At Sagicor Bank, we see the invaluable contribution of women in the home, communities, businesses, and development of our country. That's why we're in their corner, supporting Jamaica's women as they strive to achieve their dreams.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
Riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins after dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins after dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins after dark.
Carl, you're up first. Good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Evening to you. Second.
Sanjay is not my second, my co-host.
Sanjay, good evening.
Good evening,
Sanjay,
Carl.
good evening. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Tomorrow is 7th of November, no sir?
Mm-hmm.
I want my 7th of November.
The PMP IC versus the Jamaica Labour Party in the court tomorrow.
Carl, no, that's not what's happening. The first hearing of the Prime Minister's request for leave to apply for judicial review will be heard.
Okay.
Yes.
I get something sent to you not too long. You didn't notice we come at Neil visit the constituency of Mama D today.
Oh, I didn't see that, no.
And, you know, we sang, tell me which song them was have on them music system today I play in a Chilani.
I don't know, I didn't hear.
Female leader, Banya. How Anjo Ban?
He was born in
Who
was playing? Wait, well, sorry, sir. Who is it was playing that? The PMP?
Yes, man.
Okay.
Still a player.
Oh.
Still playing that song.
That's unfortunate.
And when some of us decide our mind that we must hammer the white man, you know, say, no, we'll not do it. But up till today, them are still playing them songs. So we lead a Banya. I want to say something to you, and the first thing, don't look at what happened in the United States last night. England did have a black Indian man there that in England was growing the economy. And the British white citizens, they didn't have none of that. They want them call after rule them. Yesterday, from field last, about 20 come on till last US election, Mr. Trump went fully for the races, and the people buy into it.
Yes.
The Barack Obama get 2 opportunities. They want no black person to rule them. I am having none of that into my country where no white man will rule. None of that. When I listen to them song today, right down in Clarendon here, I have none of that going for me.
But what
me leader, Andrew, Michael, Holness, right in a St. Catherine.
But let me
have no 2 British visa.
Carl.
Up till now, nobody will ask, did you give up one of the visa? He only saying give it up. He cannot show it up to today. Up to today, no journalist will ask him, did you really give it up? Show some documents for it. Up till today. And up till today, them are still playing them songs. So if you show yourself, if we did have a white man rule the Jamaica Labour Party and feed them leader did black, it will be hell in a Jamaica. And I want to remind you, the same Simon will come find a Clarendon here. He was one of them was like a tick and see I go back. And if them can still play that song, it just lets you to tell you what would have happened if we did have a white man leader a rule free party.
All right.
And tell me so when me as a foolishness. If up to today, them can still play that song, it just tell you who them is.
Well, you know my position on
I know your position.
Okay. So as I said, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that song is still being played.
I accept your position, and I will leave you with this. When I look at a black man, Damian Crawford, a black man, Dayton Campbell, and all of them are strolling behind a white man. No, get some shame in yourself.
Thank you, Carl. Alric, good evening.
Hello, Alric.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good, how are you?
But I'm not good. I'm disappointed about last night. But that's the way the ball rolled. And, Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
I lost my 2 beers, but I heard you through the grapevine this morning that you took back your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
and the great one never have any cash, no time at all.
Yeah. Judge said that this morning, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judge, you have $5,000. And let me think about it. Let me take it back.
Yeah, but the great one, Judge said 2 times the man opened the wallet and said no cash.
Cliff said some fire.
Anyway.
But you know, Alric, you know what is the real bullet that I dodged?
No.
I don't know if you remember. Way up in the year, I had made a bet with Jermaine King, the tech up for Nationwide at 5, that if Trump won, I would have done 50 push-ups live on
Yes.
But as I reminded everybody, that squits out. Because the moment I moved to Nationwide at 5, the terms of the agreement changed.
Well, some of the listeners...
The fine print.
That's your Alric. You know, Alric.
You know,
they never read the fine print.
Alric, Ricardo is pulling something that the president-elect of the United States would have done.
What? They don't read them sign contract here, Alric, and they don't read the fine print. You understand?
Some fine.
So I tell Bugs and Dana and Sanjay, say it squits out.
That's bad. But I really want to know about the Democratic Party. I listened to you guys a while ago, really animated conversation.
Yeah.
And when I thought about the defeat last night and today, I think Kamala hammered too much at Trump and left the issues that people really want to hear are talking about. And then I heard Ricardo and you a while ago, Sean, discussing it, and I said, you guys are right. And as Ricardo said, going right, no left.
But Alric, is it really that she did not speak on the issues? And when you compare that to a Donald Trump, who spoke very little on his and what he will do, so he gave general statements, but when asked for specifics, he didn't. So
you realize something that Donald had going for him?
Boy, sometimes we judge the Donald Trump differently from how we judge. All the time. Because the things that we demanded from a Harris, we certainly did not demand that from a Donald Trump.
No. And I just want to say, and I say this with all sincerity, black people, in particular black women, always have to be 10 times as good as anybody else to get half the credit. And that part made me sad. Because objectively speaking, whatever you think about Donald Trump and his rhetoric and whatever, just on a matter of execution, discipline, messaging, clear policy prescriptions, she was the better candidate.
Yes.
Forget about how you feel about Donald Trump. Just if you really assess the campaigns, she ran the better campaign. But the people have decided. They've decided, as I said,
we have to accept that.
Right. The American people have told the world who they are, and we should believe them.
You think
that is who they are.
4 years time?
No, I don't think so.
If what?
You think
if she'll be back?
She's just gonna do like Hillary and don't come back.
Yeah, she's not gonna come back. No.
Very
and I don't think even if she attempted to do it, she'd win the nomination.
No.
I don't think the Democrats are gonna nominate a woman anytime soon again.
So especially a black woman, eh?
Yes. Especially a black woman.
So they have their work cut out now between now and the next 2 years to find a leader who everybody can group up around.
But remember though, that her situation was very unique. And
3 months.
Yes, and she was the best possible person to replace the president at the time.
There was nobody else.
Exactly. But had they gone through the primaries, I don't think that she would have won.
Yeah. Perhaps not.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, perhaps not. And I just want to say finally, Alric, because I see parallels for Jamaica and I see warning signs for Jamaica. And that on that point about judging leaders differently, I think we have to appreciate that here in Jamaica, one political party, for whatever reason, and it's something that I've always recognized, is held to a different standard. Something I've always said it. I've always and particularly by people who, I'm gonna choose my words very carefully.
Choose the word good. I want to hear exactly what you said before I go.
Who often pontificate as arbiters of what is right and good.
Arbiters of justice.
I put it no stronger than that.
All right, guys, have a good evening. Well said.
All right.
All the best.
Cleveland.
Hi, Ricardo, how you doing?
What a go on?
Sanjay, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
How is my friend Saeed?
Saeed is good, man. I'm living best life.
Yeah, man.
My tour London.
Yes.
All right, I'll tell him hello
Yeah,
for you.
man.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm noticing?
Mm.
In these by-elections,
Yes.
the candidates that turn up for independent candidates,
Mm-hmm.
they're all of the PMP.
Is that so?
Yes. The man, Carl Marshall, was an old PMP member of parliament in Clarendon,
Oh, I didn't know
He
that.
was the Speaker of the House. And I just see him on TV, 80 at Haywall. Say I come run as independent
Hold
in
on.
Northwest.
He was the Speaker of the House of Representatives?
Yes.
So he was an MP on the People's National Party side?
Yes.
When was that?
In the 70s, 80s, come up.
Oh, okay.
You sure it's the same Carl Marshall?
You sure it's the same person?
Yeah, man, I sleep on TV since night because from me hear the name.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Wonder for Mr. Carl Marshall, the one when we know we run for PNP and was Speaker of the House
Oh,
at one point.
okay. I'll check it out.
Yes.
Mhm.
And they had a one named Banks.
Yes.
It's the second time him running as independent for that constituency too.
Oh, I see.
And he was part of the PNP. And usually they would expel them.
Mm.
Now I know.
No, man, isn't the expulsion if you run against a named PMP candidate?
Because you go behind where the party wants.
No, man, but isn't the expulsion if the party names a candidate and then you run against them? Isn't that what causes the expulsion?
That's what I know.
Oh, when you run against.
Right, right. If they have a candidate and you decide to go,
yes.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
The next thing I noticed in Southern Trelawney,
Uh-huh.
the PMP had already said they wouldn't be running.
Right.
And imagine the people them gone down there must have carried on a bus load of people gone down there, gone interrupt the nomination of the GLP and the other man, the independent candidate. Even though him himself was a PMP man too. We're saying running as independent. But what I'm talking about is that the PMP people have the General Secretary, Mr. Crawford, in the lot and some others there.
They
and
were at the nomination in South Trelawney.
You know them colors.
Oh, yes, sir.
Plenty of them on Black Road that the people them complaining.
Oh, yes, sir.
Who going to go about them business. Then you want them, the police allow them to do that? And then don't have no nomination there?
Oh, I didn't
don't
know.
understand.
I'll have to talk to a reporter who was down there. I didn't know that part.
Man,
Okay.
yes, man. That's one that really, them things that really surprise me to see how things going, you know. But boy, I tell you, this place here. But anyhow,
Yeah.
I am sort of not surprised that Trump wins.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I think the American people don't want to have a female or a black woman at that
Mm-hmm.
to be president.
But I also want to say though, in Cleveland, I don't think it's just. I mean, I think race and gender are part of it, but I also think in many ways the Democratic Party has become, how do I put this, a sort of a party of the privileged and the elite. I think that's a fair criticism of the party in terms of they don't, I think, take into consideration as much as they should the views of the so-called, quote-unquote, average man. And I think a lot of times voters who feel like they are being left behind by many things. So if I give you an example, like here in Jamaica, development is happening, right? And you build a highway.
Yes.
And that highway means people take a different route now.
Yes.
So they no longer, like Faith Pen, right?
Yes.
People no longer drive that way anymore because development has taken place, and that's a part of what has to happen to a country. And obviously, no government does that to disenfranchise anybody. It's just a consequence of development.
Yes.
But if we're not careful in advancing development, those people will start to feel they are being shut out or left behind. And so that kind of breeds resentment sometimes. And I don't know if political parties take that into consideration enough.
I want to.
Well, I hope they do. They should. Because, I mean, you pull up their way of living.
Yeah.
In a sense, especially.
And I'm not saying it happens deliberately,
Here is it. I want to add to that.
Because you follow that, you don't do development.
Absolutely.
But let me add to that. Part of the challenge that the Democrats had going into this race is that Harris was seen as an extension of Biden that they had already rejected. And he was rejected because of the very same thing that you're talking about. The macro stuff were all well, but the individual issues they did not focus on. And the Democrats went into that race knowing very well also that they need the undecided voters, the independent voters, to push them across the line. Because if you look at the map, the U.S. is known traditionally as having more Republican. And those people will not switch. So if the Democrats are unable to convince the independent voters that, look, this is the course that you have to stay on or come with us, then they're already on the back foot.
Yes.
And I think that is what plagued the Democrats, to convince the American people that, hey, this is the route that you need to continue on the path. Trump was direct. Trump-based supporters will never switch.
And so that now, and again, I see parallels in Jamaica. Because the example I just cited, for example, of the highway, you understand, Cleveland? You will have a political party who will go into that community and say, see, the government not care about you. And so that kind of thing breeds resentment. And then people start to, internalize that thing. And it's not, I'm not saying governments are innocent of that, but it's not always the case.
And the JLP must take this as a message. They're doing well on the macro issues, but the local issues that plaguing people, which is now what the PNP is doing. They're doing the thing that Trump did, focus on the bread and butter issues.
Your life is not better. Your life is garbage. You're not better off than you were 4 years ago. No, as I said to you, I see parallels. And that is not to blame the PNP. That is politics. It's politics. So the government now will have to be better at ensuring that people understand how these things, like a highway, benefits everybody. Because you open up economic development and you want to spur growth, and the tide will rise and everybody
and
that kind of thing.
And fix some of the local roads around, because that's where the people is.
All politics is
and
local.
I suppose that's why the Sparks and other one coming in to help with
True.
local roads.
So there's an attempt, yes.
Anyhow, the weather giving them a one time though, to make them get going. But it would be of great help if they could get a lot of the local people roads.
Yeah, man, I have one road in my area I want to fix out at East Rural.
Yes, I have one here, so I want to finish get it just. Even though we had they look after one nice one for me.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that your MP fix a lot of roads up there, Cleveland.
Yes, they fix a lot of
Who's
roads.
MP?
Julie Cuthbert.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
She fix a lot of roads.
Yeah.
And so they know she have one, they know have to go remake.
Yes. Then probably have to cut a whole new road from what the engineers are saying.
Yes. All right.
All right, Cleveland. Thanks for the call. Yeah. But
it's a reality, Ricardo,
Yeah.
and I worry about our politics because again, voters are not looking on the big picture.
No, it's just about
It's
me.
always about and what my issues are. Not necessarily your issues, and it's hard. It's hard for the
Because
politicians.
you can't
too.
be all things to all
Exactly.
people, right?
Not
So
possible.
and so there is, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Rightly or wrongly, and history will tell whether he was right. The Prime Minister has tried to elevate the thinking. I'd be dishonest if I say I have not seen where he has tried to reason and to explain and to, sort of give you a vision of why he wants to do things a particular way. As you're saying, and you say you worry about the politics and democracy, what I worry about, and I agree with you, is that enough people may not buy that message.
Yes.
It's not just in Jamaica. Biden tried to do the same thing.
And remember,
in Canada, Trudeau tries to do the same thing.
And Biden corrected many of the issues created by Donald Trump.
And you won't get credit for it because some people are still not feeling it.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have. Dana Davy, we're just out a team tomorrow because I won nationwide at 5. I couldn't do.
Watch the opponent across the
ground. Come in, Dana. Come in.
Huh?
Come in. Give me a minute, my teammate. Come in. Let me teammate. Where you coming here for, Karim?
Good night to our nationwide.
Nationwide at 5. Listeners, just join us at 11 tomorrow.
First of all, I'm not sure why Karim is in here.
Yeah, right.
It's not his. No, but
What?
it's not your.
And he
it's not
came
your
and
time.
eavesdropped on us preparing.
Right,
Yeah.
while we were preparing,
But
and yeah.
It's one nationwide at 5.
Oh, brother.
Couldn't 2.
Here we go.
Bugs a
One
support
team
way.
demure.
Jamal a support way. Sanjay come from foreign. To support way.
Support Team Demure.
So 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Appointment radio.
Yes.
Can we go dust out E-Zone?
We're going to show this.
Because E-Zone is a free zone. E-Zone is a free zone. It's 8 o'clock. Oh, we have to go.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is...
It's 8 o'clock.
Taboo topics.